All right. Looks like we are good. We are live. We have a little bit of music. How is everybody doing today? We're in the new place, which is some fun stuff. Give it a minute. I probably should have scheduled this thing earlier so that it showed up on people's timelines in case they weren't paying attention. I don't know. I do everything on Twitch usually, and we've been making this slow transition to YouTube. I gotta get used to looking different ways at the moment. So let's see. That finale, man, was ridiculous. Like, holy shit. Insane. What's up, KN? How are you doing today? Got some people crawling in. Ugh. Dude, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Lots of stuff to talk about. I keep wanting to look at where the camera used to be at the old place instead of where it is now. I'm so used to turning that way. What's up, Art? Welcome. Let's get a couple people in here and then we'll start getting into the meat of the season. What'd you guys think of it so far? I know a lot of you all we've talked about it a little bit in the comments because this video, my video and my small little peewee channel was ridiculous. Like I think my Godzilla reaction for King of Monsters, which garnered a lot of views or whatever, and that capped out I think at like 47,000 or something like that, and that was over the 2 years that video's probably been up. And holy shit, did this Mando thing destroy that. What's up, Busy? What's up? Ugh, too much Dr. Pepper today. What's up, Jacob Whitley? Busy's in the house. Ya boy, Erica Guzman. The Gorilla Duck. So much to talk about. Holy shit. Thank you, Busy. I got called out for my Luke reaction because it's like a true fan would be crying. I was like, are you not paying attention to my face right now? It is so hard. So hard. I didn't want to miss any of the action, so I was like fighting that urge to just like lose it. But the second I start to turn into a sobbing mess, as I've learned doing reaction stuff, I'll miss little details, and that entire scene was freaking choice. But we'll build up to it as soon as you finish the episode. Started your Mando piece. Are you working on a Mando art piece? So everybody, I know we've talked about it probably in the comments. I don't necessarily like right off the top of my head remember everybody's thoughts on it. So spout off. What was your gut reaction to this episode when it ended? Did you think ever, even though the most logical answer, because of the time period it's in, would be, of course, Luke Skywalker, did you actually believe Disney would have allowed that to happen? Because personally, and I've said it many times, obviously since we had the Ahsoka episode 5, that I never could give myself or allow myself to believe that Disney or Kathleen Kennedy or whoever the executives are behind this above Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni would have ever let them play with their Luke Skywalker action figure. But my God, was I so happy to be wrong. I still think it's so funny because the way my reaction's cut, the way my reaction was cut, like if I probably should like do like a I don't know. I know a lot of people have like Patreons and stuff like that, which I have one, but I've got it disabled, but where you post your full uncuts. And it would have been so funny. You guys would have thought I was so stupid because it took me so long in real time to actually click that X-Wing was Luke. Because I've said it was my response through a lot of people's comments and stuff. Was like, I honestly, it took this season alone, after last season as well, kind of trained me to anytime I saw an X-Wing to assume that is the New Republic. It's either going to be Trapper Wolf or Captain Carson. And the last two times we've seen X-Wings, it's always been Dave Filoni's Trapper Wolf and Kim Convenience, you know, coming in as, you know, Carson Teva. I was like, why? My initial thought, like, seriously, I was like, oh, who is that Carson? What's he gonna do? Does he have backup? Is he investigating this? And it wasn't until the ship, we see that cutaway of like the security cam footage of the X-Wing actually entering the ship, that I was like, it was like having like a 96 like PC, just the amount of time it was booting up in my brain to actually click that, oh wait, hold up, no, there's no way, because I was so dead set that wasn't going to happen. And I don't know why I thought it was Carson, man. Oh, what's up, Michael Childress? It's unreal how they haven't been piecemealing the big stuff. They have been all in as far as Favreau and Filoni. Yeah, they have been. It's crazy. They've been letting them play with whatever they've been playing with or wanted to play with at this point. I think they really took note of the success of the first season of Mandalorian and just said, whatever. He's alive right now. Do whatever you want, man. Dude, I watched Star Wars Theories video art. Oh my God. Dude, it makes me feel bad because like I between him and Eric Whiteley over at, you know, Blind Wave, I've felt like maybe I should have like not fought my tears because I was trying so hard to focus on the sweetest lightsaber action I've seen in a long time. And man, seeing him, I do believe that, like, for him, especially since he's made his life out of Star Wars, you know, his entire brand has been built off of Star Wars. As much as I love Star Wars, I can't say with certainty that I love it as much as Star Wars Theory. And seeing him break down like that for so long, man, I cried watching him cry of a scene that I should have just been blind with tears to. Dude, Luke honestly is like one of my first heroes, like right after Batman, because like when I was growing up, I think Batman and Spider-Man were the two I was exposed to the earliest. And then next, immediately, because of my dad, who had me watch the originals, like the original cuts. And then for Christmas one year, he had actually bought me the first VHSs of the special editions for me to actually keep. And I burned those things out, man. I probably rewatched Return of the Jedi more than I've watched any movie ever. So like that's the Luke that I call back to, you know? Like even at his darkest, most rage-fueled point, when the Emperor, he's lashing out full in anger, fully absorbed into the dark side, you know, tapping into that rage as he's just bashing down on Vader. And Palpatine is goading him to kill him. And even at all of that weight on his shoulder, all that anger in that moment, he doesn't. Because he believes in himself and he believes in the good in his father. Whether or not he didn't know if he was right. He didn't know what choice Anakin was going to make. And he was willing to sacrifice the entire rebel fleet on the chance, the minuscule chance, that this murder-hungry Dark Lord of the Sith would give in to the little bit of light that was left in his heart. That is Luke. And people want to call the comparisons of the... I'm going to go off in a whole tangent. I'm not going to talk about anything that happens after that point. Anyway, after Return of the Jedi, this is what I always wanted to see. Luke, a matured, true Jedi Master. Because this is what? 5 years after... it's 5 years after Endor, the Battle of Endor. He's had 5 years. And we saw the huge leap in power that he had in training and knowledge, and he still wasn't skilled enough to truly overcome Vader without tapping into the dark side, and he was nothing when he went up against the Emperor. But you see that little gap that he managed to close within a year between Empire Strikes Back, when he was getting his ass handed to him, and when he comes in a Return of the Jedi, mind tricking folks, and busting Han Solo out, taking on Vader. There's a whole other level there. And then to have 5 more years of him, as we know, has been scouring the galaxy looking for Jedi artifacts, tracking down Palpatine's Force artifacts that he's had stored across the galaxy. He hasn't yet established his temple, at least as far as we know. They could change that depending on where they go with that, because I don't think we exactly know. We know the date that the temple's destroyed, but I don't know that we know the date that it was established. So we got plenty of time. I mean, for all we know, Grogu's his first actual student outside of Leia, because we know Leia and him have already been training up to this point, because Ben was born, if they stick with this, Ben was born the year that this season of The Mandalorian is taking place. So he's like 0 years old at the moment. And it's for all those reasons. Like, even I'm going to talk about it anyway. I get that what The Last Jedi was doing, and I appreciate them trying to add this extra depth and direction to Star Wars, and that's where I feel like the disconnect was there, because that doesn't line up with what we know of Star Wars and what Star Wars is. I still like elements of some of the sequels. I don't think they were poorly handled, and I completely understand why people would like them. They were well made, poorly written, poorly managed, but well put together. But they don't mesh with what we know of the galaxy and what we know of the characters from 1 through 6. This is my opinion. You can completely disagree with me. But Luke, the Luke in Return of the Jedi, who was still naive, who was still emotionally able to be hijacked, gave his all and was willing to risk the entire freedom of the galaxy, his friends' lives, the lives of everybody in the Rebel Alliance, on that 1% chance that his father still had good. Up until the very end, like, Palpatine was going to kill him, the rebels were going to die if he didn't believe in his father. And you tell me that this Luke, this is before his order's destroyed, before he even knows anything, that he gives up on Ben for him having sense of the dark side. It's not like Ben at that point had murdered a bunch of people. It's not like Ben at that point was force lightning fuckers. It's not like Ben at that point was seeking out Sith or falling to the darkness. He just needed somebody to be there for him and understand him. And you're telling me that person that risked the safety of the galaxy, his friends' lives, his own life, the entire thing that him and his sister had been fighting for all these years on the 1% chance that his evil as fuck father would just be like, this kid's a little emo right now, which at his age, they just are. I was. Everyone I know was. At that moment, he's like, I don't know. He's having some shady thoughts. I'm just going to murk him right now. And just because you mirror that scene from Return of the Jedi where he's hovered over Darth Vader in anger, that moment of anger, and that was two different things. He was in a heat of battle. He was in the heat of battle and stopped himself in that moment from taking him out. And you're telling me Luke, who's trained, I don't know how many Jedi at that point. I'm sorry. This is just, I have to vent about this. At that point, he's like, not heated, not in the heat of battle. In the middle of the night, just walking on a stroll, decides to hit up his nephew's little hut. Sniffs a little dark side on him. It was like, even just the split second, I don't believe it. I don't. It doesn't make sense. And just because you artistically make that scene mirror the scene from Return of the Jedi, the context and the framing doesn't support the thesis of your statement. It doesn't. It doesn't. I don't care. I don't care. Oh my God. Now, maybe they'll change that. Maybe Dave Filoni's going to do his magic like he did with the prequels, with Clone Wars and Rebels, to flesh out that time period and add additional context to make me believe that later, which I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe that. I'll be honest. The Force Awakens, I was super excited. I left that movie excited at the possibilities. And it just clearly, there was no through line and we've confirmed that the actors themselves, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaacs, Mark Hamill even, they've all confirmed they had no idea what was happening. They were changing things as each film was being made. It was just poorly handled. There was a lot of potential. There was a lot of good potential. And while there's things that I do like in The Last Jedi, there are things that I really enjoy in Rise of Skywalker. It's just when you watch all three back to back, you can tell that there was not a plan. So they can stick to their guns, keep it canon, which I know they're going to do, and because it's the realistic thing that they can do, then just kind of count them all out. So, but they can do, at the very least, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau can work their magic and make us care about the sequels like we did. Like, even though I grew up with the prequels, I had my problems with the prequels, even though I was at the prime ripe age when they came out. I think it was like 12 or 13 when it came out. When episode 1 came out, I was like, this felt a little weird. Like, it felt weird. It didn't feel like what I knew Star Wars of, because like I mentioned earlier, I watched those VHSs until they stopped working. I loved it, being steeped in that world, you know? And I could tell things were a little different. But you can, but there was people that completely hated them. But a lot of those people have turned around over the years, thanks to stuff like the Clone Wars, stuff like Rebels, and just time. Maybe the sequels will be like that for us if Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni manage to kind of fill in these gaps, because there's so much that is missing in the in-between of those films that makes it easy for me to kind of accept them, you know? It's weird. So sorry about that entire tangent. Let's talk about the episode. We got Luke, man. Cosmos, Amon, SJ, Blazer Druid, AAM19. Welcome everybody. Kyle Volti. We are Venom. I am sorry, I can't read those kanji. Blazer Dude, Fabian, Thomas, 216H. We'll go through 'em. Real men cry watching Star Wars. I will back that up, man. Here's another thing to like prove, at least for me and my experience with Star Wars. I cried, like hard felt bawled just from seeing the crawl and hearing the fanfare when episode 7 came out. I was raw, I was ripe, I was hyped for what was to come, that Star Wars was back, baby. And then same thing. Last Jedi comes out. Super excited. Super happy to see where it was going to go. We were going to see Luke. Rise of Skywalker. That was the most deadpanned I was going into a movie because I was so on guard after that. Again, I cried in The Last Jedi. There was a lot of that I think was influenced by, Carrie Fisher's passing. And their scenes, because there are some beautiful scenes in there. The Rise of Skywalker, though, like by the time it was over, like while I had fun watching it, I saw it twice because I was like, okay, I need to see this again. I saw it twice and I did enjoy it more than the previous film. It was clunkier than the previous film, but I enjoyed it. It felt more like Star Wars to me, but at the end of it, I wasn't like frothing for more Star Wars. So The Mandalorian comes along, and again, you're kind of on guard after everything that's been going on because it doesn't seem like they have quite a handle on things. They hire a director, they fire directors left and right. They love to announce getting a trendy director on their team just to announce later that they're no longer involved. Like, it's kind of hilarious, and both hilarious and upsetting at the same time to see how they're handling things. They hired David Benioff and Weiss from straight out of the Game of Thrones, and then season 8 of Game of Thrones tanked like a phenomenon. It went out like the meteor that took out the dinosaurs, man. And they're like, maybe we don't need these two doing Star Wars. Like, it's stuff like that. And then hiring Lord and Miller and like firing them to have Ron Howard come in and do Solo. They love to get a big name and then realize that maybe this person doesn't really fit for what we want later. So they make some very rash decisions. And it's still apparent to this day. Like, they made that deal with Rian Johnson right out of the gate after his movie. When was the last time we've had any update on his sequel, his trilogy that we were promised he was going to get? Nothing. And he was a hot director at the time too. And they let him do what he wanted. Rather than carry the baton like he should have, like they're supposed to, and have a through line, he didn't. Now, he's a great filmmaker. Don't get me wrong. I love his films. Knives Out, I saw that like 3 times in theaters. Man, I loved that movie. He's talented. He is behind a camera and as a writer when he's creating his own stuff. He's such like an opinionated person and such a specific type of person that you're definitely risking things when you have him do something that already exists. But yeah. Dave Filoni, though. Jon Favreau know what they are doing, man. They know what they're doing. And like, people can say, well, it's not deep storytelling. It's not the storytelling that we deserve. The sequels tried to change Star Wars, deepen Star Wars, give us more than what we've had before, which has just been these tributes to spaghetti westerns and Japanese films and stuff like that. I was like, but that's what we all are in for Star Wars for. And then people like to say it's just because of the iconography. It's the images, the things from Star Wars we like. No, it's the themes, the characters, good versus evil. And this show gets it. Dave Filoni gets it. Jon Favreau gets it. And I just hope this show's success really shows Disney what and how to garner success. And I really hope that they learn this lesson and it carries over into their next set of films, because whatever's happening on this side, it's crazy, man. It's so much fun. So much fun watching them do stuff. What's up? Wasn't the Empire supposed to be like Nazis? The Empire had tiny baby handcuffs. Yeah, I was listening to Kevin Smith's podcast today. They were talking about the finale. They made a very good point. The Empire does deal with all kinds of different species, all kinds of different alien races. You know, they gotta have a size for everyone. You gotta think too, there's people out there that are Babu Freak size too. He's not a baby. Babu Freak is just this tall. So if you need to arrest him, you need some itty bitty handcuffs. Do you think Ahsoka's show will have Thrawn? Do I think the big climatic event, including all the shows, will be to face Thrawn? I do. I do think Thrawn is going to be the big bad between these three separate shows that they're going to culminate and build towards, because he's that big of a threat. Had space whales not intervened in Rebels, he won. He would have won that fight. He had Ezra right where he needed him. He had Lothal right where he needed it. He is that brilliant of a tactician. And really, I don't care how smart you are, no one's going to anticipate or plan for space whales. You know? I think it's going to bring together our teams, because we still don't know what Rangers of the New Republic are. What I would like to see it be, though, would be Bo-Katan. We know after the Boba Fett stinger that it's not going to be what I was thinking it was going to be. But I was thinking, it was like, maybe it's going to be like, you know, Cara Dune's spinoff, and you can have her, Ming-Na Wen, maybe Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves be this team that goes across the galaxy. But I think after the Boba stinger, with Ming-Na Wen obviously still having her life debt to Boba, we'll be following him. Now, it doesn't mean they can't split off and break off and hang out and stuff, because there is going to be some crossover, because they did say these shows are all going to be taking place at the exact same time period, so that there can be some overlap. This could be like CW style, where you've got like people popping over, or MCU style rather, where people show up everywhere in different shows and stuff. So there could be a lot of interplay between a lot of these shows, the ones under the Filoni blanket. So there's a lot of potential there for people to just come and go and show up and hang out, and maybe show up for an episode and punk out, but we'll see. We'll have to see. But I'm really excited for it. The other thing that I think it might be is following at least Carson Teva. I don't know, like the members of the New Republic who are scouring the Outer Rim, you know, looking into these weird happenings, the ones that actually believe that there is something, there's my cat, that something's happening in the Outer Rim that the core worlds don't believe in. Because we know that was a big reason they fell during the sequel trilogy, because you had the Resistance, this small group of people, this organized group of people who knew something wasn't right in the galaxy, that there was remnants of the Empire gathering, there was forces and pieces on the chessboard moving that was going to hit them down the road, but the Senate, the core worlds, didn't believe in it, and it left them open for attack. So I think I honestly think after everything that we got now on the Boba show, I think we're going to be getting, I think that show's going to be following, if not Carson Teva, a group or a segment of New Republic X-Wing pilots who are investigating these weird events happening in the Outer Rim. And I would be really down for that. You could draw some comparisons to like, 21 Jump Street, to Chips, to MASH, to the various CSI shows. It'd be really interesting to kind of see like a traffic cop show, give or take the essence of it set in the Star Wars universe, that if they go that route. I'm really interested to see what that show's going to be, because honestly, I think that's the one we know the least about. Now, I don't know if Trapper Wolf will specifically show up in this show, because Dave Filoni has said he doesn't like the pressure of being on camera, and he's done it twice. The last time Carson showed up, we didn't get to see Trapper. So I don't know if he'll be a main character in his own show. So that's why I think we're either going to have Carson Teva as one of the leads, or we're going to get like a fresh set who are in that same kind of job, doing the same kind of thing. It'd be kind of crazy to see how that all goes. I want to catch back up because I did kind of ramble on there about that. Seek of the Thrawn, and I'd love to see how that they can discover those threats. They could discover the lingering remnants of the 7th Fleet, Thrawn's fleet. Of course, we know Ahsoka is tracking down Thrawn, because if Thrawn survived the events at the end of Rebels, Ezra's probably alive, and that's why she really wants to find Thrawn. Or Ezra's not, and she wants to find him for revenge. Now, we don't have confirmation. Dave Filoni played around with this in his interview. We don't know necessarily when that scene in the epilogue of Rebels takes place. He didn't confirm that it is set after The Mandalorian or before, but that possibility is open, that after Ahsoka in episode 5 of The Mandalorian gets that information from Bruce Lee's goddaughter. I can't remember her name right now. Gets that information from her, is when she goes, like, all right, I know where Thrawn is. She flies back to Lothal. She talks to Sabine, and she's like, get in my car. We got a place to be. And then what I think, and this is just a theory, I don't have anything to support this. We know eventually that the Mandalorian is going to build to the reclamation of Mandalore. We're going to go there eventually. Between Din Djarin now being the proper owner of the Darksaber, Bo-Katan having requested and received his agreement to help her retake Mandalore, that we're going to be heading there. So, and we know that Thrawn is a big part of something that's happening right now. We keep hearing about how it's this dead world. It's been glassed. Nobody's there. It's cursed. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody's been there in ages. It's not real. People are going to go there. And I'm willing to bet, not a lot of money because I'm not insane, but I bet like $10 against somebody that Thrawn might be holed up at a secret like location on Mandalore. Because that way, not only do you have the reclamation of Mandalore, you're having all these characters converge to retake Mandalore, while at the same time, Thrawn is in charge of the seat of Mandalore, holding it for the Empire or whatever remnants of the Empire or offshoot that he's trying to create. So then you have all those storylines converge for this event where they're taking on Thrawn for the reclamation of Mandalore. Now, there's no evidence to support any of that. That's just pure speculation on my part. I'm curious to see if we'll start building into that, because I think that would be a badass way to kind of bring all these shows together and bring those storylines together as well, and build on a lot of the setup that has been set up so far across the shows. I honestly think they'll retcon the sequels at some point. They could. I don't know. I don't think a corporation like Disney is going to backpedal. I think that they will double down only in the way that I think Dave Filoni did with the prequels, and just add as much context with all these peripheral shows, these side shows, side books, side what have yous, to make it make sense. So like with the Clone Wars, what that did for the prequels, I think Dave Filoni is going to be tasked with saving the sequel trilogy and making it make sense in the greater arc of the Star Wars saga. It's a hefty task to achieve, and if anybody can make it make sense, it's going to be Dave Filoni. But you don't know. We don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no either way, because I just don't see a super corporation like Disney, even though knowing they didn't handle it in the best of ways and that it wasn't received in the best of ways, I don't think they'll backtrack out of it. The problem with episode 9 was they spent so much time trying to fix 8 that they didn't focus on writing the story. I can agree with that. There was a lot of things that were in The Rise of Skywalker merely to challenge episode 8, whether it be in tone or in specific things that happened. I was like, all right, how can we fix some of the things that kind of took us off track so JJ could get back to the story he wanted to tell? Which, from what we've heard in the outskirts, isn't what we saw on screen, isn't even the true version. If you even exist, like if there's released the Snyder Cut, there's a whole other version of that movie that JJ had that, from what I understand, would have made a lot more sense than what we got. Ian McDiarmid confirmed that there was a lot more backstory and a lot more explanation as to how Palpatine came back in the original version of the script than the version that we saw, because he performed those lines and he said it in an interview. So I'll trust his word. He's too up there in his age, I think, to give a crap about anything that they're going on with all this drama and stuff, because yet again they brought him back in to kill him. Love the whole season. 50 years old. Watched the originals. Hated the prequels. Sequels were okay. Love this series. Completely reignited my love of the franchise. Me too. Right there with you. I like the prequels. I love them for the most part. They have their problems. Episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars movie. I did a top 10 video for my, top 11 Star Wars movies. I think going into Rise of Skywalker or just after. I can't remember. But I did that. And it was my number 1. Is the Revenge of the Sith. It's not the best movie. It's not the best one. But it's the one I enjoy the most. Let me find my place. I don't know why, but I feel ashamed when I saw the green lightsaber that I thought it was Ezra. No, I wouldn't be ashamed at all. Like, I was so dead set that they weren't going to bring Luke in whatsoever, that I was like, just because it's green doesn't mean it's Luke. Just because it's an X-Wing doesn't mean it's Luke, because we know that there's a bunch of different X-Wings out there. You could see the markings on it though, and if you check it at one point, I'm pretty sure you can even see R2. So it does call itself out eventually, but you got to lose all of that doubt the moment you see the lightsaber hilt. The moment you see the lightsaber hilt, and the moment you see the glove on that right hand, even though we don't see the face, that's our boy. That's our Luke. There's too many coincidences for it not to be. And I think we're going to save Ezra. And that's the one reason that I didn't think Ezra would show up as the Jedi in this, was because Ahsoka's got to be tracking Thrawn down to find out where Ezra is or what happened to Ezra. So it seemed really unlikely that we saw Ahsoka just to send Ahsoka off into her own show for the person she's looking for to show up in this show where she just was. So even though I thought that was going to be the place we were going to go, I thought Dave Filoni was going to play in his own toy box some more, like he has been with Bo-Katan, with Ahsoka. I thought it was pretty likely until Ahsoka came up, and until we saw the Thrawn reveal, the name drop. I don't, because it would just be like playing tag at that point if Ezra did show up. So I was actually pretty leaning into the Mace Windu theory. I was really leaning into Mace Windu being the one that shows up. I was really thinking another strong possibility, they would have to age him up or add prosthetics, but having Cameron Monaghan come in and play Cal Kestis. Because there was a lot of stuff that was set up too that could have pointed to Cal Kestis, and that would have been really cool. We also don't know the fate of Quinlan Vos. Quinlan Vos is still alive, last time old, but still alive as far as I'm aware. So I was thinking, well, Quinlan could show up, but I was definitely leaning because of all the hype, all the obsession with it for so long. I was like, maybe it was Mace. Maybe Mace survived. He doesn't have his hand, but a bunch of people in Star Wars don't have hands and they're fine. Listen, Maul didn't have the entire bottom half of his body, and somehow that fucker lived. Mace can survive not having a hand and falling out that window. Right? Right. But plus, Ming-Na Wen doesn't have any organs in her stomach. Star Wars, these people could survive some crazy stuff. Makes sense that they would come up. Makes no sense that he gave up on Kylo Ren. Agree. I broke as soon as he started talking because all season I've imagined him showing up, thinking about his iconic voice. I agree, man. I just didn't think it would happen. Like, I was like, man, I want Luke. Luke makes sense. If we had Luke in our toy box, Luke makes sense to bring him out. I just didn't think they would. I didn't think they were allowed to touch that section of the toy box, to be honest. I thought Ben was conceived on Endor. I don't know if he was No, Ben was not conceived on Endor. At least according to his Wikipedia page, he was born in 5 ABY. Sorry if you can hear that train, it's really loud. He was born 5 ABY on Chandrila. So he would be 0 years old at this point. Give or take. Yep, Luke going after Emo Ben was faulty. Agreed. Wasn't the Empire supposed to be like... Okay, I read that one already. Because some of these are coming in and I get stuck on a tangent and then lose my place. So I'm trying to make sure I've gone back and talked a little bit about everybody's little comments here. Figured it would be some obscure Jones Jedi. Didn't expect this at all. Right there with you. Let's do away with the sequels. Love the videos. Thank you, Mashed Potato. Still enjoy the sequels no matter what people say. And that's all the power to you. Like I said, I understand why people enjoy them. Especially the younger generation too. People younger than me, like I totally get it. You have no attachment to Luke. You have no attachment to Anakin Skywalker. You have no attachment to a lot of these people. Of course you can grow up with them. Of course, this is your generation's version of Star Wars, your section of Star Wars. Totally get it. And I think a lot of it's influenced by when you grew up and what kind of things you kind of have value towards. But like I said, aside from a lot of the logic and just the overall way they were handled, I can definitely get behind why some people like them. Like I said, there's a lot of bits of them that I do enjoy. There's a lot of cool moments that still left an impact on me. Like the moment with Luke seeing in The Last Jedi that the original hologram that R2 had of Leia as R2 trying to, like, listen, remember who you are, man. Dude, I cried. I cried when I saw that little video of Leia. It was emotional manipulation, but I cried. I'll fall in for it real hard, real quick, man. Problem episode 9, still enjoy this, no matter what people say. I think it was Kathleen Kennedy trying to push a brand new young generation of Star Wars, so they decided to retcon all the older ones. Okay, so I've heard that as well, and I've been a proponent of that as well. But there's been some information, at least from people that have been working closely with The Mandalorian, with Dave Filoni, and even Dave Filoni himself, who says it's the opposite, that it was not, she was the, from what Dave has said too, is that Kathleen Kennedy fought to have The Mandalorian, fought for Dave's show, for that pitch and all that against Disney. And it almost makes me wonder, especially with what we learned in some of the interviews that came out around Bob Iger's book, is maybe they were pressured to do all of that by the people above them. Maybe Kathleen Kennedy isn't necessarily the person we should be angry at. Disney does what Disney does. She's got a boss she answers to. But I don't know. I don't want to play the blame game at the end of the day, because Star Wars is in a place where I'm very confident in the people that are at least working on it right now. And with the roadmap that they gave us at the Investor Day event, it's very likely that it could just kind of go off the rails again, because they're definitely throwing a lot of eggs out and putting a lot of eggs back in the Star Wars basket. And I don't want them to get ahead of themselves again, and kind of get themselves in the same place that they were before. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. It was really an ego and agenda problem that I had put it where it was. I think that I was humbled with the position they were in, with the park attendance and interest on their version of Star Wars. I agree with that. There was not the attendance in Galaxy's Edge was not as big as they expected, and I think a lot of it was because they focused on the current era. And that's kind of one thing that I think they shot themselves in the foot with, because everything that's at Galaxy's Edge is considered canon. There's a Galaxy's Edge book, and they wanted to keep it in line with the version of the story that they're telling. So for the OT fans, for the prequel fans, for the Clone Wars fans and stuff like that, there's a little less appeal to go there aside from visiting the shops and getting collectibles and stuff like that. So they kind of put all their eggs in the basket that is just as fresh and extremely divisive as it is, whether you like it, whether you hate it. Probably shouldn't theme your park around that era. I thought the smart thing would have been to do. Now I'm not like a business analyst. I don't have the authority to talk on any of this crap. Like, as far as marketing, decision making, running a business, like, I understand what they were. Stop scratching the window, cat. Oh my god. Anyway, sorry. She's. I don't have a true office in this new place just yet. So I'm in the living room, so I can't shut the cat out anymore. She might come hopping up here. But I don't know. I think they would have had a much more stable business model with it had they committed to the original trilogy, which we know at least is the most universally loved. So I don't know. I was saving up to actually go this past year, but then of course the pandemic happened that derailed all of that. I had plans to go to Galaxy's Edge. I wanted to go to the Scum and Villainy Cantina in Los Angeles, and I was trying to do a collab with the Real Rejects, but all that fell through pretty hard. Yeah, there was a lot of weird non-Star Wars feeling agenda plots in the sequel trilogy too, specifically The Last Jedi, which just seemed to not mesh with the story. That was pretty forced. Love democracy. Do you think we will see Ben Solo kill Grogu? I don't, Darius Films. I don't think we'll see. I don't think they'll allow that to happen. Even if it lines up, even if they continue and it goes and evolves into where we see Luke and the Academy and stuff, where it extends in the sequel trilogy, I don't think they can, in good faith, with the appeal that Baby Yoda Grogu has garnered these past 2 years, I don't think that they would let that happen or let that be canon. I think I've told this to like my friends and people, is like what I think would be funny is what have we seen with a lot of the hero's journey? We've seen with a lot of different character types, both with Luke, with Aang in The Last Avatar when he's learning to control the Avatar state. When you go to see your master to learn to do the master stuff like Luke did with Yoda, what if this Thrawn storyline gets Din Djarin in a dangerous place? Let's say Grogu, a couple years later, he's gotten some more training, he's gotten some more talent, some more focus with the Force, and what if we see this like hero's journey moment where he has to make a decision between, like Luke did, like Aang did, make that decision to see their training through, or what if he gets a vision through the Force and sees that Daddy Mando's in trouble? What if he leaves? What if he leaves Luke's academy to save Din? Have little Grogu come to the rescue when they're battling Thrawn or something. I think that would be one of those ways that, in George Lucas's words, you can have it rhyme because it's poetry. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. I do talk so much in my reaction videos, Atlas. We talk about that every time you comment on one of my videos. It's what I do. It's commentary. It's a reaction. Some people's reaction to things is to talk about it or say what the fuck out loud and talk about it. Get over yourself. Nobody should be allowed anywhere near the franchise other than Dave and John. They get it. I'm really curious about Taika's movie, man. I'm really curious what that's going to be. I wanted to make a theory video about it. My very first kind of theory, actually not my first. I made a theory video going into Rise of Skywalker, but I think actual Star Wars theory beat me to it. I had the thought first. It wasn't until their nerd theory video where they talked about his movie and the concept art for it that I was like, damn it. I really wish I could have got this video out first, but I'm trying to move. I got to work from home and it's like, damn it. Anyway, because in that concept art, there's a reason that's there. There's that giant floating triangle. It's going to be different than we've ever seen it. A different place in Star Wars. They're talking it up as being something different. And that triangular shape has a very important meaning in Legends, going back to the possibility of the Tho-Yor, which is pretty much these Force ships that transported the original ancestors, the first Force sensitives, to Tython to, what's the word I'm looking for? To colonize it, where the Jedi Order first formed. And that's kind of where the Jedi trace their roots back to. We don't know really a lot about the Tho-Yor, what they are, where they came from, or how they function, but they function purely through the Force. My other theory on it could be, and this is just my hopeful opinion, because if we're talking all of Star Wars, Darth Revan and Knights of the Old Republic are both my favorite character and favorite game. And we've been getting a lot more Revan lately. We've got an official Black Series figure, both dark and light side Revan. We got an official lightsaber with Darth Revan now. We have, thanks to the visual dictionary for right down here for episode 9, that there is a fleet named Darth Revan. Like one of the fleets of Sidious's forces, the Sith forces, was Revan. And there was a concept art that came out here recently that shows a lot of those Old Republic icons, showing Darth Malgus, Darth Revan, Malak, Nihilus, in a mural that was cut and not filmed. So it's just like, well, maybe we'll go that direction. What if this is a redesigned Starforge? Because we did see it right next to a celestial body. Now that's just me being hopeful, because I really want Revan to be, even though I know he's canon, I want to know, I want to see, and I want them to retcon all the bullshit that came with the Old Republic MMO and how your create a character pretty much derailed Revan's entire arc. I want to see that. I think it's probably going to be Thoyor or maybe something completely different, or the concept art is purely just there for nothing. It's just there to look cool. But I don't think so. I think there's a reason they chose that, the reason they showed that, and I'd like to see what they do with it. Even though it's not, the Starforge was more techy and stuff like that, it's kind of shaped like a triangle. Like if you like squinted, it would make like a triangle shape, like a diamond shape. So that'd be kind of cool. And again, that's just me being hopeful for Revan being in one of these things. That'd be so fun to me. Hello there, everyone. Welcome, Try. The next set of films better have Dave Filoni as a writer. So, Patty Jenkins' film, Rogue Squadron, has a mystery writer involved. They have not announced who the writer is, and there's two key guesses that I have, and some speculations that I've heard of who it might be. One of those is Dave Filoni, who also had a family member who was in the military. I don't know if, I can't remember if he was a fighter pilot, also like Patty Jenkins' father, but that there would be some ties, and maybe that Dave Filoni, in fact, is writing the Rogue Squadron film. The other side of that is, what if this is Rian Johnson's? It could also be Kevin Feige, because Kevin Feige is really on board. We know that he's producing a Star Wars film. They announced that a long time ago. What if he also wrote it? But I'd like to see Dave Filoni's name on an actual live action movie directed by Patty Jenkins. I think that would be awesome. Super late. Welcome, Pac-Man. Anytime is on time for me. Jawa size. Do you think we'll get a new Siege of Mandalore? I do. I think that's what we're building to with Bo, Axe, Koska, and Din. And I think we're going to be seeing way more than just those four involved in it. 4 different shows crossover because of the Boba Fett show. I'm going to talk about that too, because I'm sure it's probably somewhere already in the chat. A lot of people in the comments, and I started to agree, was that, and get convinced, oh, the Book of Boba Fett. We just finished the Book of Din Djarin, right? We've been seeing chapters before the title of each one of these episodes. Maybe we're changing books. Maybe season 3, since they said at Investor Day that season 3 of The Mandalorian won't start or return until December 2021, and now we get the Book of Boba Fett announced at the end of this, also December 2021. Now they did specify for The Mandalorian season 3 that it would return Christmas 2021. So, I was like, okay, kind of a coincidence. I'll buy into it. A lot of people were convincing me in there. I was, yeah, we're following the Avatar format. Our seasons are structured like books, though it's a TV show. I can buy into that. However, Deadline both originally reported that Boba Fett was getting his own event series, and then after the Book of Boba Fett was announced, Deadline made a new article stating it as a new series. And then one of the concept artists who works on The Mandalorian tweeted out yesterday that, now this isn't official confirmation, he just works on the project, and he was sharing his insight. He said that as far as he knows, The Mandalorian season 3 and whatever this Boba Fett project is, they have completely separate filming schedules outlined for them, which implies that it's not season 3 of Mando. If that's true, again, he's not an official source or can't speak on behalf of Lucasfilm, so that's why I'm hoping eventually, now that this episode kind of like, because they like to drop all their spoiler stuff Monday most of the time, so I think like in the coming weeks we'll get official confirmation on exactly what the Book of Boba Fett is going to be. It could very well, because they said it was going to be a limited mini-series, a single season event series, much like Obi-Wan is going to be. It could only be like 2 or 3 episodes, and it could air leading into season 3 of Mandalorian, because we also do know and have confirmation that Pedro Pascal has signed his contract for season 3 of The Mandalorian. Not saying that it could still follow Boba Fett and Din Djarin still comes in and out of that story somehow, but I think I'm starting to go back to my original thought that it's going to be separate. So we might have a 4-show crossover, or the Boba show will kind of give us the hints, the seeds, as an event series to show what he's doing over back on Tatooine. Maybe he discovers something that will tie into the other shows, allowing the 3 shows to cross over, because it's not going to run concurrently. It's going to be just those episodes and done from what's been reported. So that could be different. I think you may see Palpatine clone eventually. You might, if they keep following along this track, we could run into Rey's father. Could see how that goes. Next is Bad Batch, which I'm really excited for, and Dave Filoni's working on that as well. And they did say that it will tie into season 3 of The Mandalorian and these other shows and what their storylines are going to be. I think in Bad Batch, we're going to learn who saved Grogu. And I do like the theory that R2 recognizes Grogu and Grogu recognizes R2 at the end of this last episode. Because they lingered on that. They lingered on that quite a bit. That that moment. They exchanged. I don't think it was just like a mere interest of like, ooh, shiny robot thing for Grogu. I think he recognizes him. I think like, because we know that R2 was there at the temple because Anakin parked at the temple. R2 was there because he was like, you don't need to come with me. So I think R2 knew a little bit more than what we all thought, and maybe he saw baby Grogu and helped him escape. Maybe it was R2 this entire time. But I'm curious to see what Bad Batch is going to really kind of explore and what's going to happen there. We still need to know how Moff Gideon won the Darksaber to begin with, because I know I've kind of gone off on a little bit of a tangent by this whole like passing by trial of combat. Did he defeat Bo-Katan to get it? Because if he didn't beat her to get it, and maybe she dropped it, lost it, or something, and then he just picked it up, does that automatically make it his and not hers? Again, she didn't win it for herself. Sabine gave it to her. There's this whole thing with it that like, I'd like to get a solid answer from Dave Filoni on the transference of this power, because a lot of the Mandalorians did acknowledge Maul's rule because he defeated Pre Vizsla and claimed the Darksaber. It was only the people that were still loyal to Satine and Bo-Katan herself that defected because they didn't agree with him not being Mandalorian to have it. And then you had the other group of Mandalorians that followed him after that, who believed that he earned it by trial of combat. And then later, Ezra and Sabine steal it from him. Then you have Palpatine, who in that same season defeated Maul in combat, even though he didn't have the Darksaber with him. Or did he? I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen that fight. But you could even say that Palpatine is the one that truly was the owner of the Darksaber and then was defeated by Vader. So making Vader the owner of the Darksaber. There's a whole bunch of stuff with that. It gets really messy. It's not as clean and cut like the Elder Wand stuff in Harry Potter, but very similar. They could go down that path, but we'll see. I'll bet Axe was in the bathroom in the bar when he came out. I bet he was like, "Where'd everybody go?" Yeah, I was like, "Where is that guy? The guy that was with Bo-Katan at episode 3? Not there. Off doing another secret mission. Maybe he was exploring something else or scouting something out for the for whatever their next heist was going to be, just so they could have this badass female moment, which is so subtly and juicily done. It was so well done They don't draw attention to it. They don't call it out. It's not some, it makes sense and flows with the story. And I love Avengers Endgame. Love it to death. But that A-Team shot where there were people, if you watch if you're paying attention to where everybody is at different points in time during that final battle, they had to actively stop fighting a bunch of these enemies for all of them to be in that spot. It just doesn't make sense. It was literally just done to be cool. Literal fan service. This was how you do it. This is how girls get it done. These girls can beat me up all day long. I love it. Ming-Na Wen. God, I got a crush on her now, man. So hard. More Trapper Wolf or else. I am right with you on that camp. I love seeing Dave Filoni in his own show. Big event could culminate would be Thrawn. I think so as well. We need more Frog Lady. Listen, I liked Frog Lady. I like that story and I like how it ended. I actually got pretty emotional when she met her husband. Space Cops. Yes. Man, I gotta get through these eventually. Okay, hold up. Space Cops. I got a lot to get through, so we're gonna focus on this. Do you think the Imperial Unnamed Comms Office, Katie O'Brien, was a double agent and is Sabine Wren? I've heard that theory, and she wasn't in the bridge, which was where we last saw her when it was assaulted. Where'd she go? We don't know. So maybe Trapper Wolf retconned to destroy Starkiller Base. He's the one that blew it up, not Poe. Now, I gotta say, I like a lot of the characters from the sequel trilogy. I like Kylo Ren. I like Rey. I just wish they fleshed her out more. Gave more time to it. Finn, a lot of promise. Great actor. Another storyline that they just ended up not knowing what to do with him. But Poe Dameron, man, I love him. I don't know if it's Oscar Isaacs, if it's the character, but I can hardcore crush on some Poe. Poe Dameron is where it be. But I would definitely be okay with Trapper Wolf being retconned to destroy Starkiller Base. That'd be so funny. Indeed, possibly heir to the Empire type climatic event. Dude, yes. That's what I want. That's what I think is going to happen. I bet the Boba Fett will be 4-episode show. The Mandalorian season 3 will be 8. And the Book of Boba Fett will be season 3. Like I said, like some of these comments, like I probably came in while I was going on my Boba Fett, my season 3 of Mando and Boba Fett tangent. So I'll just gloss over those. Mando and Grogu created a significant bond in which I wholeheartedly believe the Force may have something to do with, making me believe that instead of being the end, it's just the beginning. Agreed. Everything is the will of the Force. Who comes into contact with who? It is all predetermined, as we've seen thanks to the World Between Worlds. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. It's the will of the Force. People meet because they're supposed to meet. And that's how the Force keeps balance. What was that? Thrawn ends up being the one who sets up the Sith Eternal and or the First Order. Now we do know that the First Order is separate from the Sith Eternal. There's 2 contingencies, and the First Order, as far as we know, are completely unaware of what's happening on Exegol. It's fair to assume that Snoke doesn't even know about Exegol, because he didn't seem to know that he seemed to act on his own will, his own accordance, his own power. I think he was completely unaware that he was being manipulated or that he was a clone. Ezra should be able to take care of himself if he thinks he is a Jedi. Agreed. If you do the Marvel formula, you'll see the Jedi come together at some point. I think we will too. Definitely do. Does anybody else hear background noise? I have some like low, quiet music playing. I didn't want it to like be overbearing. I can't tell how loud it is to you guys, but yeah, I've got some some music in the background just so it's not dead air. Find my place again. Do the Marvel Force? Does anybody hear the background moves? Something happened to Mandalore that we don't know about yet. That's true. We know the Purge happened on Mandalore, and people say, or at least there's propaganda saying, that it's been turned to glass, which I don't know or believe is true. I think it's a propaganda tactic to get a lot of people in the galaxy believing that it's inhabitable and that there's nothing there to actively avoid it. And Bo-Katan, she's not buying into that propaganda. She thinks something's up. I need to hear Ludwig Göransson's make a Thrawn theme that goes off the Rebels theme. That would be awesome. No way they will ever retcon the sequels. They just expand them to make them better, like the prequels and Clone Wars. Honestly, that's what realistically what I think is going to happen. What are your thoughts on this new show based on the High Republic, The Acolyte? I'm really curious to see what this High Republic era is going to bring, especially seeing a young Yoda. But I think it looks pretty cool. I think it's going to show there's a potential of seeing not Sidious, but Plagueis even, and seeing how the Jedi fall into this complacency as tools of the Republic rather than being an independent order themselves. I think exploring it from the point of view of somebody that is a dark side user is really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. Still don't like the prequels. All the power to you. Like I said, they're not great movies, but I still enjoy them quite a bit. Like you speculated, Thrawn will be in Mandalore. Din and Bo will have to fight against him. Meanwhile, Ahsoka finds out that Thrawn is on Mandalore. She goes there, teams up with Din. Essentially what I was saying. Yep. Yeah. Rise kind of just retconned The Last Jedi. Yes, it did. In some ways, more than others. When I saw the X-Wing, I thought it was Mace Windu. Fair. I thought it was Carson Teva, so we were both wrong. Mace Windu is dead. We don't know. We don't know that. He could have survived. I hate all the official green Luke lightsabers. They sell too wide of an emitter. I know. That's what whoops. So sensitive. That's what I don't like about it, because I'm really stingy about props and replicas and stuff. But I understand you need room for the tube and the mechanics and stuff. But you've seen some from Saberforge and some of these other companies that build them. They make them right. They make them right. Pretty. I'm saving up to get the Revan set eventually. Mace may be alive. Too expensive to show up. I mean, okay. I don't even know if money would be a problem for Sam Jackson at this point. He's actively campaigned for Mace Windu to still be alive. So I think he'd just show up just to be there. You have a great time. Thank you, Erica. I'm trying my best. Why can't Grogu speak? Good question. Don't know. Oh God, Empire's End said Ben was conceived on Endor. Space pregnancies last 5 years, it seems. Hey man, gravity does some shit to your body, so who knows? I mean, that would make him, I don't know, man. I mean, they could change that, or they also have been ignoring a lot of the books lately too, so I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to do an ABY thing. Never mind. Of Endor, it was for ABY, Battle of Yavin. Yep. Will Grogu escape and meet back up with Mando? I think he'll leave. I don't think he's going to need 20 years of Luke's training. Ideally. So I think we could see Grogu reunited before the temple gets burned. Just did a live stream talking about the show. It was a really good season. Yes, it was, Con Camera. So good. Well, hello there yourself, the Dark Side Queen. The finale was so awesome. Loved every moment. Agreed. How do you think R2 got destroyed? If he did after the sequels, I think he would have gotten destroyed about 50 years after the sequels. What? I mean, I don't think R2's been destroyed. Not that I can recall. Pretty sure R2-D2 rescued Grogu from the temple while Anakin made around to kill. Yeah, I don't think R2 would actively stand by letting the Jedi be slaughtered, but was working for the Empire all along. Look at all the clues. First, take off the jetpack. If he was, he helped them get their plan fucked up. So I don't know. That would be some long game 5D chess if that was the case. I don't think Boba was working for the Empire at all at this point. Personally. Could be wrong. There's plenty of time. The jetpack thing was just so that they could have a reason for Mando not to be able to save Grogu. Because if you have him with the jetpack on, he could just fly up there and beat the Dark Troopers to Grogu. But it was merely plot convenience, is all I saw it as. You think Grogu is Yoda's son? I think it is very likely, because they clearly are not a prominent species in the Star Wars galaxy. So much like the Jedi do, and that they've done with Ki-Adi-Mundi, when their species is at risk, extinct, or in low population, Jedi are allowed to procreate. It's possible. And that's why it was Luke who came for him. Like I said, I think that would be poetic. I think that would come full circle for Luke being trained by Yoda and for Luke to pass on his training that he got from Yoda onto Yoda's son. That would be cool. I'd be down for that. Star Wars can have a time travel movie like the Avengers and could change the whole future, make these sequels non-existent. Originally, I kind of thought maybe they could do something like that with the World Between Worlds. Now, we do know that there are parallel timelines that we could explore. Not really change or alter time, but parallel. Because I don't believe that the World Between Worlds allows you to do pure time travel. I think it allows you to see these windows, influence areas, but I think whatever happens in the World Between Worlds is predetermined as well. Kind of like Hermione and the Time Turner, where they saw the blinding light from what ended up being Harry's Patronus at the end of the movie, and it comes for full circle, meaning whatever happens later has already happened, and that all of time and space is happening at the same time. Of course, they could change that, because Dave Filoni did say that the World Between Worlds doesn't allow for true time travel. I was curious, how did Moff Gideon know about Din's rescue mission? Is there someone in his team that was feeding info to Moff? No, I don't think so. I mean, Mando called him and was like, "Hey, bud, I'm coming for your ass." So I think he just knew. He's also an ex-ISB agent. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he knows exactly what's happening, when it's happening, at most times. They just managed to get the jump on him by getting his location. If there is a mole, oh, that would be dirty. I'd hate it. It makes me, I don't want to not trust anybody. Just joined. Can you summarize Revan? Revan is Anakin if he was fully realized, in my opinion. He was a prodigy in all ways. He was the strongest Jedi in the Force during the Old Republic. He was a master of both the light side and the dark side. He was just the GOAT. And plus he killed the current Mandalore during the Jedi and Mandalorian Civil War, not Civil War, the Jedi Mandalore Wars. Wiped out the Mandalorians to a state where they basically became a bunch of wanderers throughout the galaxy, much as they are currently, were because of Revan. And as a trophy, he took that Mandalore's mask and wore it as his own, and wore it into Sithhood, and even into his Jedi hood. He did continue to still wear that mask. He just looks badass, and he's super freaking powerful. And I think he is the best of both worlds when it comes to the light side and the dark side. Join stream. On for season 3. Think so. We need a new villain. Yeah, we do. We do now. Gideon has been conquered. though there's a lot of questions that go unanswered. Luke himself was trained by Yoda for 30 minutes to 6 months, and Luke wasn't as talented as Grogu. I think Grogu will graduate and come back to force heal people. See Grogu more as a healer, so he could be like a consular. That'd be interesting. Luke's series in development from Fandom Wire. If that's true, holy shit. They can't do a whole show with that CGI. They need, because that was the only nitpick that I had about Luke showing up was the uncanny valley of his face. Do you want Jodo cast? Jodo cast. I don't recognize that name, so I apologize. I don't know. Need Thrawn for season 3. Siege of Mandalore, so wasn't. Whoops. God. This scrolling, man. There we go. God. Finding my place. Again. Siege of Mandalore, so wasn't Yoda a fully trained Jedi by age 100? Yes, that's a good point. Grogu is 50. I think maybe his species just has like a really impromptu growth spurt in those next 50 years. But yeah, Yoda was training Jedi by 100, unless he embellished his like recounting of his own life a little bit. Any chance to get Luke Skywalker spinoff series? As we saw above, maybe. It's possible. If they did it, honestly, I think the most proper way to do it would be to make it like animated. That way you don't have to worry about making sure, because they seem to be really adamant to not recast certain characters, so I don't think we'll ever see Sebastian Stan, no matter how much we want it, as Luke. But maybe if there's a series and they need somebody for long term, they might. But I think the best way to carry on the legacy characters, because a lot of them, some aren't here anymore. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Harrison Ford is a grungy old man, doesn't like Star Wars to begin with, so they'd have to fork up a bunch of money to get him back. I think we'll see a lot of that, seeing them recast. Or follow up with them in comics or with animation. I mean, I like all the animations that we've had, between Rebels, Clone Wars. I haven't watched The Resistance yet. I haven't watched that, gotta be honest. Grogu, Ahsoka, Sabine team up to get Rezra. Possible. Why Bo-Katan not okay taking the Darksaber, but was okay taking it at the end of Rebels? Good question. I brought that up too. There's been a couple of good theories that I've heard from the comments talking about because the ones that remained, at least those clans, didn't see Maul as a true owner of the Darksaber and were more willing to have her accepted then. Clearly, she failed at leading them because they lost Mandalore. So maybe they saw that as, well, maybe she should have earned it through trial by combat. So this time she is trying to follow tradition since another Mandalorian found it. Boba Fett is now Jabba the Hutt. Sounds like low ratings. Dude, you mean you don't want to see Boba the Hutt? I want to see Boba the Hutt. Book of Boba could drop first 3 Fridays next December, Mando Christmas Eve. Yes, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. And I think whatever happens at the end of the Boba Fett event series will lead right into the beginning of season 3. Because there's got to be a reason that they said Mando returns Christmas, December 21st. Instead of November or October like it did. They said Christmas, not December. So there's a reason they worded it like that, and I think that's probably accurate. I think we'll have 3 episodes of whatever this Boba series is, 4 to 6 max, and it'll go into that. I know it won't happen, but a rated R movie or TV show of Star Wars would be interesting. That sounds like what they were going to do with Star Wars 1313, that video game, where it was going to be a mature game, but Disney took over the property, canceled the game, and got rid of it. I would be down for that. Like, to see one set purely in the underworld, you could do it. I don't even know that it could be rated R, because you can't really get too gory unless you're actually using blades in Star Wars. Because blaster fire, lightsabers, stuff like that always cauterizes the wound, so you don't really have blood. And all the swears in the Star Wars universe aren't real swears. So I'd be curious how you even make a rated R show without just having like blatant nudity or something. Be interesting. Because Star Wars is just set up differently, you know? Next time we see Grogu, will he have a lightsaber? Probably. Gideon kind of hinted that. I was like, oh no, you're not ready for one of these yet. So he might. I think some Mandalore saw Bo as a pretender for being gifted the saber. Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, Sabine technically won the Darksaber from Saxon when they fought on the lake. Yeah, but she's the one that brought it there to begin with, right? If I remember right. I mean, her and Ezra got it from Maul, so she didn't win it herself originally. She found it in Maul's lair. They had to have girl power. Dude, that was some of the best girl power. I loved it. Girls are powerful and they get shit done. And they did it in the most tasteful way I've seen in the last 10 years, I gotta say. I loved it. The actor for Axe posted on his Twitter that there was a specific reason he wasn't in the final fight. I do remember there was also an Instagram post of him and Ahsoka, him and Rosario Dawson, and he said, I can't wait to work with you again, but they never had any scenes together. What's that about? There's something going on there. Sabine gifted Bo the saber, then took it. Din gifted Bo the saber. She didn't take it. There's a story in between. There is. Because we don't know what happened to Bo, and there's a lot of Bo's backstory that we don't know between when she received it in Rebels and how she lost it to Gideon. Whatever happened between her and Gideon for Gideon to end up with the saber could be very well be why the Mandalorians as a people no longer trust her stewardship or ownership of it. And now she's got to do it the real way in order to get back into good favor with the other clans, maybe. I just want them to explain it so that we're not just filling in the gaps ourselves as fans. Every battery has its pluses and minuses. We can theorize all the different ways, but until they kind of show us, it's just our best guess at that plot hole. And Austin says it right there, smell a plot hole. Yep. She looks great. Yes. I need Luke and Ahsoka to finally meet. That conversation about Anakin is long overdue. Dude, I agree. They would bring each other so much closure that it's ridiculous. It would make me cry. Just thinking about it, it kind of has made me tear up a couple times because they both really need it. Ahsoka, I think, more than Luke, because Luke got to see him die as Anakin. Luke at least had the privilege of, even though he didn't know a lot about what his dad was like growing up, before his fall, he got to see Anakin in his final days. Ahsoka's lived this entire life having known the great Jedi that Anakin was, watched him fall, watched him kill her friends, watched him bring terror to the galaxy, and I don't think she ever knew that he died in the light. And I think that a lot of that pain and that a lot of that aversion that she has towards considering herself a Jedi anymore is because she associates it with Anakin. And if she got that closure that at the end of the day, he returned to the light, I think that would bring a lot of power to Ahsoka. And I think we'd see her take on a whole different light. I think we'd see her take on a whole other disposition because you can tell in the scene, and I've seen the best of us give in to the dark side. It's taken the best of us. You can see that she's still carrying that pain and that fall of Anakin because she doesn't know the truth. And Luke has that truth. And she can tell him about all the great stuff that he's done and how he taught her. It's a conversation that just needs to happen from a fan perspective, and I think their characters need it. But you can't have that conversation and then also have Luke go down this dark road later. So I don't think we'll ever see that conversation happen, unfortunately. Most likely not all the Mandalorians saw Bo as the rightful ruler as she was gifted it. That's very possible. Again, I'd like to hear it said. It'd be interesting. It'd be insane seeing a Boba TV show like that. I think so as well. I think it's going to be really cool, really badass, and awesome. Because he doesn't give a shit about these space politics or anything that's going on in the world. He's been a bounty hunter through and through. Like, he's been out for himself. He's got his code. But he's never really been on a side unless that side forked up the cash, you know? So I'd like to see what Boba's like now that he doesn't really have anybody to kind of hold his leash anymore. As soon as you said Starkiller Base, it reminded me of Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. Dude, that was so funny. That, and if you guys didn't know, I have a reaction to the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special that's on Disney Plus. I enjoyed it. If Moff Gideon tried to commit suicide, it is because he has a boss or a master. There is still much to see. There's so many unanswered questions. The easy answer, as I've said in a lot of responses to the comments, because I've tried my best, because this video blew up more than any of my other videos, and I try typically often to respond to everybody's comments, and I've been trying to keep up with them. And a lot of the ones is, you know, what's Gideon's project been for? He seems to have a lot of adoration, and I've said this before, that the easy and obvious answer, because of where we are in the timeline, is that he's part of the First Order, or what becomes the First Order, and is trying to perfect this technology to help aid the transition into power to facilitate Palpatine's return. The creation of Snoke. But there's a lot of evidence that can support to the other, and I think there's a lot of fun to talk about the possibilities of what else could he have been working towards. We saw Dark Troopers. He very well could have been trying to instill non-Force sensitives with the Force and create Shadow Troopers. Like he said, it's a way to bring back order. And that's, as people have pointed out, that's the second time this season we've had Imperial specifically use the term order, likely hinting to the First Order. Again, that's the obvious direction to go. I'd like to play around with some of the other ideas. It could be Shadow Troopers. He seems to have a very high respect and knowledge of the Mandalorian culture, and having the Darksaber meant something to him. I kind of thought, what if he was doing this all to give himself, like using all these test subjects to perfect the method of transferring Force powers, the ability to manipulate the Force into those who do not have the midichlorians to actively influence the Force. Because the Force is active in all life. But you have to have a certain ability to connect to it, which, as we know, thanks to the prequels, is tied to your midichlorians, your M count. And maybe he just didn't have enough. Maybe he wanted to be the next Tar Vizsla, sorry. The next Tar Vizsla. He wanted to rule Mandalore. He wanted to have the Darksaber. He wanted to bring order to the galaxy by making himself one. Maybe, again, he was trying to create a force of Force sensitives. Force sensitive soldiers, Force sensitive troopers. Don't know. We don't know. But the most likely answer, yes, it is to lead into the creation of Snoke, to lead into the creation of Palpatine's clone bodies, and see that route through. But yeah, he definitely, when he pulled that blaster up to the base of his neck, that was intense. I didn't expect that at all. Really want to see a rated R Commando movie, or a General Grievous movie. General Grievous would be really interesting. Hey, rejects! Greg and John, if you do not follow those guys, they are exponentially larger than this channel. If you're not familiar, I know some of the people here watch them as well. I love these guys. They've been a lot of fun and help with the channel. What am I hoping to see from the Book of Boba Fett? Check them out. Subscribe to them if you haven't. Congrats on the killer views you got on that finale. I know, man. It's way more than I ever thought I would have in any video ever. What am I hoping to see? I want to see him manipulating other bounty hunters, him taking power, maybe like turf wars, gang wars, maybe even like challenge the other Hutts. Because we know Jabba the Hutt he's not the only Hutt that controls the Outer Rim or sections of the Outer Rim. He's just the one that we know because he's on Tatooine. He may have even been just the most powerful Hutt, but there are other Hutts. We know that. So he could be challenging that whole thing, trying to take, no, I'm going to build my crime empire. I'd like to see him kind of explore these different factions, kind of in the way that we did with Maul a little bit in Clone Wars and a little bit behind the scenes of the finale and in Solo, but actually see it from Boba Fett's point of view. I'd like to see him do that, and then maybe hear the call to arms again to help out his other fellow Mandalorians. Because clone or not, I consider him a Mandalorian at this point, because by birth or by creed, I think he deserves it more than anybody. Even if he doesn't want it, even if he's the Jon Snow of Mandalorians, like, I don't want it. Actually, I think Din Djarin's probably the Jon Snow because he was so adamant in his Night's Watch beliefs. Death Watch, Night's Watch, Jon Snow, Din Djarin, oh, Pedro Pascal, Oberyn. Oh, God. Dark Saber seems to have exact same power as regular lightsabers. Why is it special? Because it looks cool. It looks cool, and it was made by a Mandalorian. We don't really know anything else about its properties, but okay, a little bit of a plot hole in the episode. I thought until Luke showed up, I assumed the Dark Troopers were going to be much more resistant, even to lightsabers. I know they didn't have the Force. They had mostly blasters. Couldn't they have used the dark saber to just cut them, kill them? He had it handy. Like, as they're coming through the door, he could just like poke it through the hole, just stabby stab stab. It seemed to be pretty effective, all I'm saying. Now, does he have the Force, the reflexes to wield it, block all the blaster bolts? No, only a Jedi can do that. So if they were able to funnel them through a point, kind of 300 style, kind of like Lord of the Rings and Helm's Deep, and standing their ground, keeping their footing, having the Darksaber may have been all they needed, but we needed that Luke, man. We needed that Jedi showing up. What's up, Gargamon? How are you? Glad you could make it. Do you think R2-D2 saved Grogu from the Jedi Temple back on Coruscant? I think it's very likely. Yoda, there is another. Might not be Leia. Might not be Leia. Because we know, I mean, there's Ahsoka, there's Cal, question mark, could be alive at that point. Ezra is potentially alive. But I do think he was meaning Skywalkers, because the only chance to topple the Empire was to have one of the blood of Anakin Skywalker confront him. To bring out that good. To bring balance to the Force, like Anakin did. Anakin is the chosen one, will be the chosen one, is always the chosen one. That is canon, that is lore, that is truth. He brought balance to the Force. Get out of here. R2-D2 was with Padme and Obi-Wan during Order 66. Was he? Questions. Curious. Yeah. That might pull that apart. You're right. RIP Comms Officer, Caddy O'Brien characters served our galaxy well. So sad they didn't do something more with that character. Honestly, we didn't see her in the bridge when they assaulted it. If we did, I didn't see her. So she might still be alive. She may have pieced out. Let's get Danny DeVito as Luke. What are you trying to do? Get out of here with that Gargabod. I like Danny DeVito, but come on. Maybe Yoda's species ages by using Force. Huh. We know the Force is biological in a lot of ways, so if his species is just naturally that attuned to it, maybe because he's been repressing the Force, his growth has been stunted a little bit. And maybe now that he's opening it up, maybe that's an interesting theory. That's the first time I've heard anybody say that or mention that. Boba worked for Vader forever, sidekick, and always worked for a reward. Maybe he had a deal with Thrawn, might even get to see old partner Ventress. Well, Ventress is dead. They in a canon comic, they killed her. So I don't think we'll see Ventress. But if Boba's in league with Thrawn and in this 5D chess kind of move, goddamn. Do you think Star Wars Disney Plus shows will use flashbacks more with upcoming stories, such as with Boba and the Sarlacc, Kenobi and the Clone Wars, and maybe even more fan-pleasing events? It's possible. They did say in Kenobi we would see glimpses of Order 66. And we need to know how Boba got out of the Sarlacc. Come on, stop it. They gave us the hints of the Krayt Dragon possibility, but I want to know. But they could keep it, vague for our imaginations to run wild for as long as they want. I'm 14, but man, if I was able to make Mando armor, that would be so cool. Dude, me too. I would love it. I would love to have a set, at least the helmet. Maul, want to have a talk about that blood thing. Was the only blood spurt in Star Wars Maul Episode 1? No, in the original cut and a couple of cuts of Episode 4, when Obi-Wan cut off that arm and the cantina originally had blood. So Maul, those are the only ones I can think of. Maul spurting that blood mist, and the arm from Episode 4, A New Hope. You know what's nuts? Bib Fortuna blew up in Jabba's ship, but still lived, so Boba finished the job. Yep, gotta take him out. Gotta get rid of all the weak sauce that's holding this throne. What's Bib gonna do? So I bet it was Bib then who was giving those orders to find the child to those Nikto that we saw jump the Mando as he was leaving in the beginning of Episode 2. Can't stop it. Darksaber, shoot, I got lost again. Fennec is a total badass. Dude, Ming-Na Wen. Oof. God, I never wanted to be beaten up by a woman so much more than I have been watching this episode. Palpatine is technically the holder of the Darksaber after he defeated Maul in Mandalore. He spared his life for other uses. It could have been the rule of Mandalore and destroy it from the inside out. I agree. Darksaber lost or stolen means you're unworthy. Only trial by combat makes you worthy if you win. Also, if you find or steal the Darksaber, it becomes ownerless. So if you do that, so by that logic, that makes sense. If you were dumb enough to let it get stolen, counts as a loss. I'll take it. I'll buy into that. Let's not forget the bigger picture, because remember, Din doesn't even care about the Darksaber. He doesn't even want anything to do with Mandalore, calling it cursed. You're right. He's Jon Snow. He don't want it. Mike, I'm hearing ads. You're hearing ads? I mean, I've got music playing. I don't have no ads, unless you can hear like my roommate stuff coming from the other room. I mean, I hope there's not ads playing on this playlist. Also believe this is why Mandalore was destroyed. The Mandalorians are divided. This is how Palpatine maintains control in Mandalorian space. No, you're right. He did do that in Rebels. We saw, because he had Mandalorians that were working under his thumb as well. Ahsoka knowing that Anakin came back before he died would be huge. Agreed. I think she needs to know that eventually. The Darksaber serves him for that purpose because no one knows of Maul's defeat on Mandalore, so therefore Maul was a puppet under Palpatine. We'll definitely see some closure with Hayden as Anakin Ahsoka series. Possibly. Hayden coming back for the Obi-Wan opens it up for him to return as a Force ghost. And I'd love to see it. He's definitely going to be in the suit. I think we might even see Vader without his helmet a couple times, so we'll actually see Hayden with prosthetics and makeup, so it'll be fun. Sup, fellow geeks from Grevlane. What up? Welcome. Regardless, the Republic had gained control and order on Mandalore by the end of the Clone Wars, which turned Empire. Yep, they took it, got control, and then it just switched hands like that. That's true, but I was so distracted by it. Also, did Grogu go to Jedi school with Ben Solo? Maybe. They might be there at the same time before Grogu graduates, before Ben gets too saber happy. I think the Darksaber burns hotter than regular lightsabers. The Ahsoka sabers didn't superheat the Beskar spear. It could. We don't know. We don't really know much about it. I wonder if the Book of Boba Fett is going to involve 5 major crime syndicates. Crimson Dawn, Black Sun, the Cremora, the Hutt Clan, and the Pike Syndicate. Very much could. And I hope so. Like I was saying just a minute ago, I think that would be really cool to explore the other crime syndicates and see how Boba compares and maybe even takes control of them, asserts power and dominance over them. Is it true, like, it's true, the Luke Skywalker series? Maybe. Could be. But Ahsoka wasn't as forceful as Gideon when they were fighting. No, she was very calm, collected, and agile. She also wasn't trying to kill the person she was talking to because she needed information from her. So she wasn't going as forcefully as she could have. Someone also pointed out, because we know she likes to fight, reverse grip. And she wasn't at the start of the battle, and it wasn't until she lost one of her sabers and got serious that she flipped it reverse. So she was probably even handicapping herself by fighting in a way she's not as comfortable. Someone pointed that out too, and I did notice that, so it was a good catch. So you're telling me the Jedi were betting on Anakin's attachment, pulling him back to the light in Jedi, but 25 years before, it was so awful to love people. I think that was something that Yoda, that was just the fault of the Jedi. That was the fault of the dogma. They kind of got lost in it all. And Yoda, after a point, they all eventually do encourage attachment. Yoda, at least in the EU too, Luke's Jedi Order encourages attachment. I mean, Luke's got a wife and kids as the Grandmaster in the EU. What's up, Brown Wolf? I feel like Disney is going to use all these shows to make the new trilogy make more sense. I agree. That's what I think is going to happen in the long run. I think that's the most likely scenario, and the most likely outcome is just they're going to use these shows to fill in the gaps and make it a cohesive experience, because the movies themselves didn't do that. What if the Book of Boba Fett isn't necessarily its own show, rather the Boba Fett is the new villain of Rangers of the New Republic, which was teased being released Xmas 2021. Same as Boba. We don't have a date of Rangers of the New Republic as far as I'm aware. The only date they gave at the event was for Mandalorian Season 3 was becoming in December 2021 on Christmas. Weak sauce free zone. Yes. We will find out how Boba got out. I hope so. Ming is so much better in Mando than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I gotta be honest. Because I watch all the DC shows. And for a long time, I watched all the Marvel shows. And once they kind of made it very apparent that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't really all that important to the MCU as they originally planned, I think I tuned out and stopped watching around season 3. But yeah, I definitely like Mina in this way better than her character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I personally was not that big a fan of that show. Check this. Baby Yoda is the same age and grew up at the temple with Anakin. Grogu can tell Luke more about his father when he was young. That's true. he would, if they interacted, Grogu would know more about Jake Lloyd Anakin up until Jedi Knight Anakin. Like, Ahsoka only knows Jedi Knight Anakin and into Vader. Grogu could tell him some stuff. It's like, dude, when your dad was a kid and he was at the temple, he ate glue. I don't know, man. It would be interesting. It would definitely be a different kind of story. Din done what? Din don't want it. I just love that, man. That was Jon Snow's lines. It's like, you're my queen. I don't want it. That was his only 2 lines in season 8 of Game of Thrones. And then with some like sprinkling of other word vomit to get him through. Mando is going to plug some pipe in. He's going to plug some pipe in Bo-Katan. Oh, God. Goddamn. I don't know, man. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They'd be a power couple for sure, though. I don't see Din and Bo hooking up, though. Maybe. Don't know. I don't know. If he's like, he's Mandalore now, he can just be like, I command it. I watched him grow up, and that's why Grogu knows R2-D2. Possible. He would have seen him a lot with Anakin and with his time during the temple. Wherever the owl goes. Wherever the owl goes. That's another thing. Ahsoka is more than we know. Ahsoka has more ties to the Force than I think we're aware of because of the owl. The owl, key symbol of the daughter who embodied the light side of the Force, who gave her life to restore Ahsoka to life. Very well, Ahsoka could be the embodiment of the light side of the Force now. We don't know. We don't know. Pass it on. Grogu finna get a Shoto purple saber. That would be freaking awesome. Do you think we'll get anything about Grogu and or Luke in season 3, or specifically only Mando and Bo-Katan? I think we're going to take a break from Grogu. I don't think we'll see him for a while. I can't imagine that we would even have some cutaways to him. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see Grogu again for a while. I think we're going to take a break with that, and I think we're going to focus on Thrawn and taking back Mandalore. So I think it's going to be a little while before we see Grogu back in the show again. I don't understand why Bo took it from Sabine but not Din. Seems like hypocritical. Unless with this being more popular than a kid's show with Rebels, thought of Disney is doing it for the drama's sake. It's very well it could be just for additional drama, but there's been some good points made in this that maybe because she received it via gifting from Sabine before and then failing to lead the Mandalorian people to victory against the Empire, maybe they saw it as cursed, maybe as they saw it as weakness because maybe they attribute their failure to being led by Bo-Katan and her not having earned it the right way. A lot of them were all for it just for her having the Darksaber at that time. Something in between, maybe there was something that happened that made them feel that the traditional route is the only way to truly earn it. Could be a change of heart, change of character. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff that has not been filled in with Bo-Katan's story. And I hope we get a book of Bo-Katan so we can fill it out. Bo-Katan about to go full villain. Yeah, man. They didn't even follow up on that, man. It's going to be super crazy to see that dynamic, because that's one of the threads that ended this that I'm really curious to see where that goes, because they didn't resolve that in the episode, in the season. They didn't. That is left up in the air, and that's going to cause some tension. Will Bo-Katan follow Din? Maybe try to convince him to fight for Mandalore, since it's not really something he cares about, because he don't want it. Or maybe because she's so dogmatic in this, and the whole thing has been Din becoming less dogmatic, maybe like, listen, you don't need it. Just rule. Maybe he'll get her to stop caring about needing the saber to rule. Don't know. I'm really curious to see where that's going to go. I don't think she'll go full on villain, but I think she's definitely going to be, there's definitely going to be a push and pull between them, because I don't see her being the person to want to fight Din for it. I think she's frustrated. She's upset. I mean, she didn't originally even want it from Sabine, but she just took it for the sake of her people. And then maybe she got attached to that power and then failed, and then she's just trying to prove herself, and maybe through Din she can kind of redeem her own self and detach herself from this. End credit scene of the finale should have been a shot of Tython. We see someone walking from behind to the scene stone, pans to show Mace Windu. Weeks late saying, mother... That would have been so funny. Oh my god. I love it. Someone needs to animate that or have that happen. Great last episode. Yes. Yes, it was. Everything coming together. Bringing in the Jedi himself, Luke. And it's just, it was so badass. Just the movements, the precision, the skill, the control that he had in dispatching these dark troopers was, it just shows that he's been putting in the work ever since Return of the Jedi. He made quick work of those things. And I loved it. Like, you could see the different forms too, the different saber forms. Like, you could see young Anakin in a lot of his movements. Especially the over the back, lightsaber block. And then the crushing of the droids. It was so good. Loved it. Fucking hype. Din has to go back to the planet with the blue shrimp swamp village. Since he's loosened up his ideals a bit, he's got a lady waiting there for sure. You're right. You're right. She was definitely coming hard onto him. And you could tell there was part of him that was like, damn it, I like it here. You're onto something. Maybe we'll revisit them later. Grogu's arc is finished for a while, for sure. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to take a break from it. I've been a huge Star Wars fan my whole life, but I've never really cried from a scene. But that scene with Din and Grogu, I cried. Then again, and then I rewatched it. 5 stars. So, I know some people have been annoyed or bothered by recurring or legacy characters coming back to the show, like Luke, Ahsoka, and Bo-Katan, and they're like, these people are overshadowing our new characters. This is Din's story. Why is everybody overshadowing them? I feel like the show has done a really good job in making everybody feel like they were on the same level. And I didn't feel like Luke's moment in this episode overshadowed the emotional weight of Pedro Din saying his goodbyes to Grogu. I don't think anything that just happened to that overpowered that. It's crazy. I don't know. Some people, I just don't know what makes them happy, man. I just don't. I loved it. Great last episode. Do you think Ahsoka will be involved in any pipe plunging in Jesus Christ? Yeah, I'll hear with that. Facts, Miles. Swear I heard Sabine was a part of this season too, but I guess that was false information. A lot of people thought that Sasha Banks was playing Sabine. That was the popular theory. That was the rumor. And no, she's just a brand new character that's part of Bo-Katan's current crew. But yeah, I think we're going to eventually see Sabine. We will. Eventually. Especially if Ahsoka's tying into this and she's tracking down Thrawn. We're going to have to see if Ahsoka's show follows from episode 5 of The Mandalorian forward. Sabine's involved. Sabine's going to be in that show for sure. Wouldn't it have been awkward if Boba was still there? See, that's another thing. Boba Fett leaving preemptively felt kind of like the jetpack moment from Boba's episode. Boba couldn't be there at the same time as Luke, so they needed a reason for Boba Fett to not be part of the strike team. Because it'd be a really awkward conversation if Boba was there. He's like, you and your friends put me in that pit. There would definitely be some salt in there. Now, I've seen that some people like call this out too. Luke didn't give his name. Din didn't ask. Bad parenting, by the way. Didn't ask his name. Didn't ask where he was taking him. But, you know, Cara Dune, as a dropper of the Republic, you'd think she would know, maybe not if who Luke Skywalker is, maybe like appearance-wise, but it's a reason why they didn't ever mention Luke's name, because if Bo-Katan heard Skywalker, she might be like Anakin Skywalker? There's a conversation that would happen. Cara Dune be like, who the fuck this? I'm Luke Skywalker. And it's like, oh, you blew up the Death Star. There'd be a lot of that. And then Boba Fett would be there and he'd be like, bitch, we got a beef to settle. You guys ruined my life for many a year. Turns out the Book of Boba Fett will not be season 3. That is what we are hearing currently. Katan and Din could fight it out with Nerf sabers. Would that count as a defeat? Can we choose a game? Can we lose at rock, paper, scissors? Does that count as battle? Interesting questions to ask. If Din gets the Mandalorian Gauntlet fighter in season 3, it's about to get lit. I don't know if they'll be able to get him another Razor Crest, but the Razor Crest feels like a character, to be honest, and we saw that character pass. I think it would be fitting to get him another Razor Crest, because I think it became one of those vehicles you associate with a specific person, you know? Kind of like the Slave One and Boba Fett, the X-Wing and Luke, even though I fucked that up. Blame Falcon and Han? Maybe. He might just get another one. There ain't no rebuilding that one, though. Or, what if his is still busted up and on Navarro? Because remember, when they installed that tracking device, they fixed that ship from barely functional to completely shiny and brand new. What if they just had replaced it with a brand new one? His ship is actually on Navarro, hidden somewhere, and what got blown up is the one that wasn't his to begin with. Maybe. If you told me 5 years ago we'd see Bo-Katan, Luke, and Baby Yoda all in the same room, I would think you were on death sticks. Well, 5 years ago, you wouldn't know what the fuck a Baby Yoda was. But I agree. I know what you mean. Joshington, do you think third season will be about retaking Mandalore? I really do. Because he agrees to help Bo-Katan at the end of this episode. He now owns the Darksaber, formally. I don't know what else it could be about. I think that's the one that, I think that's what it makes the most sense to me. I think we're going to see season 3 build up to the reclamation of Mandalore. We'll get these other two shows, Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka, and then they'll run concurrently with season 3 to converge on the reclamation of Mandalore and somehow taking on Thrawn, which if he's not on Mandalore itself, which I think would be interesting to have Thrawn on Mandalore with a secret project, rebuilding his own fleet, doing his own thing, kind of engineering this propaganda to keep people away from the planet. Be an interesting way to bring it all together and tie it all up. I think it'd be pretty cool. Rebels crew reunion on Mando. I think we're going to eventually get a reunion for it. There's only been 3 times I've cried during a season finale. First was season 3 finale of the CW's Flash. Second was season 7 finale of Clone Wars. The finale was the third. This finale was the third time. Dude, if I had to... All right. I've cried a couple times watching Game of Thrones. I can't remember any specific moments, though. When Hodor died. Spoilers for that show and that season, which is years old now. When Grogu died, damn it. Hodor died, I cried a little bit. I know that one for sure. I cried when X-Files ended. I cried when Dragon Ball Z ended, even though it was a happy ending. Dude, I cried just seeing the Star Wars logo once. I cry a lot. I get emotional. I cry. I watched The Flash. It gets pretty hype. And that season 3 finale was, it definitely got me there. But it's so crazy, man. I could just list off times and moments in movies and shows that I've cried, and we'd be here all day. When I watch something, I invest in it. Like when I'm watching something, I give myself to the thing that is on the screen. And there's some people that are just like, all right, I'm watching this thing and I'm just on my phone. I'm just like, oh yeah, that was all right, whatever. I like, don't talk. Shh. I didn't hear what they said. And then I'll just crack up and die and get lost in like all of it. Luke probably gives off Super Sage Force vibes. Yes. Yes, he does. I would love to see a cutscene after Luke left the bridge. Can you imagine their conversation? And be like, the fuck was that? He didn't ask his name? Where's he taking the kid? What do we do from here? The whole time, Bo's just silent and just staring at Din. I'm gonna kill you, you bitch. Boba would have known it was Luke. He found out who Luke was before Vader. You're right. In the canon storyline, Boba Fett was the first to learn the identity of the fighter pilot that took out the Death Star because he was tasked to figure that out by Vader, and learned that it was Luke Skywalker, relayed that to Vader. Yeah, Boba Fett was the first ever to know on the Imperial side the name of Luke Skywalker. I was wondering if Mando is going to be able to keep the Darksaber. I think so. I think he very well is going to keep it, wield it. I think he might even be the next Mandalore, whether he wants it or not. Sometimes the best leaders are the ones that didn't really want to lead. It's just because they have the qualities needed to be a better leader. They don't have like an attachment to it, the devotion to it. They're free, they're open, they're unbiased. This benefits to both sides, but I don't know. Bo clearly had her chance and fucked something up. So, if not him, Boba Fett would be next in line. Boba Fett was the future Mandalore in the EU, so that would be interesting to see. But if he's going to be this overruling crime boss controlling the Outer Rim, I don't think he's going to be juggling that on this as like a side job if he's ruling an entire planet. Watching, gotta get up. I was wondering if Mando is going to keep the Darksaber. Cara Dune had the best line in the end there. Yeah. What? We're saved. With the X-Wing showing up. Oh, I love it. Hopefully, Cara will say something to Din about who this Jedi is. That's assuming she probably knows the name Luke Skywalker. But you gotta think that there's probably very few people in the Alliance, the Rebel Alliance, and these different... She was a drop trooper, so she was always boots on the ground. There's probably been a few scenarios where she's seen Luke, knows what Luke looks like, so that's probably another reason they didn't have Luke announce his name, because it would kind of provoke a lot of conversations between Bo-Katan alone having known his father, Anakin, and of course Cara Dune. It might distract from the moment, but yeah, no, definitely. She'd be like, oh, she probably would even have a fangirl moment, to be honest, if she found out it was Luke, especially after the trash talk from that one Imperial officer at the beginning of the episode, which was a really tense scene and another humanizing element of the Empire that I didn't expect. I liked that. It was tense, it was on point, and it really shows you that to a lot of people, the rebels were viewed as terrorists. I liked it. And it ended how it ended. And I like that too. I always lose my spot. Unfortunately, the Razor Crest was a Republic era ship that is probably way outdated and no longer manufactured, like Boba Fett's fire spray. You're right. He's got as far as I know, Boba Fett's got the only remaining fire spray, or at least functioning one. I mean, you could find a Razor Crest maybe on a junk planet, fix it up. There's so much shit coming out. Goddamn, you are right. I just want the return of Grogu as a foundling, and Din's clan way becomes about reestablishing a true Mandalorian Jedi to lead them. I think that would be cool. I think down the road, once he's completed his training, I would love to see Baby Yoda, Grogu, be the next Tar Vizsla and lead the Mandalorians with a darksaber in hand and fully decked out in his own little Mando outfit. If Mando gets a new ship, you think it'll be Razor Crest or a Slave 2 or 3? Well, fire sprays are extremely rare, if not. Boba's got the only one now. So I don't know. I would imagine he'll get another Razor Crest, because I think it's become synonymous with his character. Hold the Grogu. I wonder if next time we see Grogu talking, he will be. Now that's a thing too. In canon, we don't know if his species just has that speech structure by default. We never heard Yaddle talk. But I know in Knights of the Old Republic, I'm blanking on his name, but the leader of there was another of his species on the Jedi Council on Dantooine who spoke normally. So I'd be curious to see how they establish that in canon. If Grogu, if he talks, if he'll have Yoda's speech pattern, if that's just a way their brains function. Papa Joe's talks. Speeches on The Flash are so good. I cry all the time. Oh my God, man. I don't care what it is. Jesse L. Martin can just spout out some truth, some dad talks that will just break your soul, make you want to just weep into his chest. Jesse Martin is one of my favorite actors. I first saw him in X-Files, even before he was in The Flash, and of course his role in Rent. He's just such a good actor, and he can convey emotions so well. He's honestly one of my favorite fictional characters and characters in TV too. So much fun. Such a great character. Crying shows that you care, no matter what it is. Agreed. Definitely. Hard agree with that. I know people harp on it like, it's fake. Why are you crying? I was like, dude, shut up. Let me cry. You and me both. All it takes is Lucasfilm logo, and my tear ducts are like, hi, how are you? I'm back. Yeah, man. Ugh. Surely Boba's smart enough to not go after Luke. That's a death wish, dude. Yeah, especially if I don't know, man. Boba's a beast. You know, they didn't have the technique to do action on the budget that they had at the time, or to train people properly for the stuff that they were doing back when the original trilogy was made. Obviously, they also had older actors like Alec Guinness who couldn't do a lot, and the Vader suit back then wasn't very mobile. They also had a very different idea of how lightsabers worked. They thought of them as really heavy, and that idea changed as the series evolved. But Boba went out like a punk on that barge, and they definitely did a lot to redeem him. So I'd be curious what a rematch of Jedi Master Luke versus Boba Fett now, what that would look like, and who would win. Luke, but it would be a much better fight than we saw Boba put up in the OT. Dude, it was a blessing to people who didn't get spoiled for Luke in that finale. Would have sucked if I got spoiled. Dude, yes. I feel bad for anybody that had that spoiled for them, because that is such a reveal that you just need that genuine reaction. Because if you didn't get it, it sucks, because that was so powerful. That was so unexpected. And the fact that, one, Mark Hamill kept that a secret, and two, that this didn't get leaked blows my mind. Do you think Boba Fett made it to live through the sequels or nah? He's in his 40s now. So we have 25 years until, from the point that the Mandalorian is currently in, we have 25 years before the start of The Force Awakens. Boba Fett would be at most, let's do low bar, high bar, because I don't want to do the correct math at the moment. He'd be 60 or 70. He'd be somewhere between 60 and 70 years old. Assuming he doesn't get killed or die in the between time, he very well could still be alive during the sequel trilogy and by the end of the sequel trilogy, since that's another thing that bothers me about the sequel trilogy. They only span a year. Yeah, you have the first movie, Force Awakens, which Last Jedi breaks the Star Wars formula by not having a time skip and starting directly at the end of the last movie. And then we have a year time skip between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. So only a year and a few, maybe let's call it weeks pass between the episode 7 and episode 9. So he would be 61, 71. So he could be alive. Be alive and out there, controlling the outer rim, maybe even. Crime boss still. Maybe he's retired. You don't know. We don't know. We could maybe find out. Bubba might be able to help make Mandalore with all its new power. That's something I'd be really curious to find out about. What is the state of Mandalore during the sequel era? Is it a superpower? Is it part of the Republic? Because it was its own neutral zone, even while the Republic was functioning. Before it converted to the Empire, it was an independent and neutral zone planet. I'm curious. I would love to know the state of Mandalore by that point. And I don't think we'll know that until they fill in these gaps, because obviously that kind of spoil the show to know where and what state Mandalore is in the sequels. No, kind of know in the future kind of hurts in certain aspects. The drama and direction of a show that takes place before it, which is one of the reasons I was like, well, with Luke, we know where Luke ends up. So that kind of gives us only a couple of avenues of where Grogu can end up. So it kind of narrows your vision and where things go, because there's an obvious endpoint that has to be met eventually. Casca Reeves is hot. Is fire. And she's got some fire in her arm too. She fought Boba Fett with some fire, I'll tell you that. Though I was a little like fire doesn't work like that. It doesn't beam struggle like this is Dragon Ball Z. But I'll forgive it because it looked cool. Hopefully during the next 50 years of his life. Yeah, I can't believe we have to wait a whole another year until season 3. We actually have a longer wait for season 3 than we did from season 1 to season 2. By 2 months. 2 months, well, a little over 2 months we have to wait. Before, by comparing the length of time. How long will it take for baby Yoda to grow up? 50 more years. Maybe even just 20. Because we mentioned earlier in the chat, Yoda, at least according to Yoda, he was training fully fledged Jedi by the time he was 100. Can't believe we have to wait another. Bummer until season 3. Rey becomes a Force god in a year, Duke. Oh, Duke. Dude. Yeah. And it's because of a dyad, the blood of Palpatine, and other excuses that have to be made. Did anyone feel like Luke's line in this was like a call out to that? Because he said, you know, raw talent or power is nothing without training. Guess who didn't have training? She was only with Luke for a day. 2 days max. Because Last Jedi takes place within a set time frame, because we know, because there's a timer. They're like, we have this many hours before our space gas runs out. And in the vacuum of space, I know Star Wars is about logic, but in the vacuum of space, unless you are interfered with by another object the rate of speed that you're going in a vacuum is constant and consistent, and you don't need fuel to keep going forward. You just need fuel for initial burst to get you up to that speed. Once you hit that speed, you will forever be at that speed without exhausting fuel. But the Last Jedi gave us a clear cut. I don't remember what the exact hours were, but they were like, we have this many hours before the First Order will catch us. So the entire movie, everything that happened in that movie, takes place within less than a day. Unless the stuff with Rey was taking place at different points in time, and then only the stuff on the ship, the resistance ships, were synced to that time. Again, just another thing that made it complicated. Imagine a whole new trilogy that takes place 2 years after the events of the sequels. We would follow up with a newer established republic going up against Fett's crime empire. Holy shit, that would be insane. I don't know if they're going. I don't know how you would do that too, because none of the cast of the sequel trilogy wants to come back. And it's all contingent on if they all come back for some of them. Like John Boyega said, he is out unless the other people all sign on too. So they're really upset about that stuff. Daisy Ridley, not happy about how it all went, how it was handled. John Boyega was so pissed vocally about how they handled it. You won't see them come back. So making something out after the sequels, you would have to time skip to the point where those characters aren't around, or at best would just be mentioned, because I don't think we'll see them unless they recast. They might be less afraid to recast these characters than they are Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford. Don't know. It would be interesting to see that come through. Since you're going to bed, good night, Dill. Thank you for stopping in. Din would be a great reluctant leader of a new Mandalore, with him being more open-minded during his journey in season 1 and 2. Agreed. I think that's one of the reasons that he is more fit to be a leader. Especially more so than that. He's got different perspectives. Because Bo-Katan, as we also saw in this episode, who chastised and doesn't accept, where Din accepts Boba Fett as a Mandalorian, Bo-Katan doesn't accept him as one. Like, she sees him nothing more than as a clone. Din has become more open than even Bo-Katan at this point, by not having these biases and being open to it. And this journey has taken him from being part of a religious zealot group, the Children of the Watch, to just this whole other enlightened level as he's experienced the outside world. So I think in a way he's being built up to be the perfect ruler for this planet. I agree, Jeffrey. I do think Din Djarin is a true contender to rule Mandalore at this point now. This might be a random question, but how about how many Mandalorian soldiers like Mando are even left? I don't know, man. We know they're scattered. We know there's different convents scattered throughout the galaxy. Their numbers are unknown. So if we include Boba Fett, which I'm going to do, clone or not, we have, because we don't know how many died on the assault on Navarro. So at minimum, we've got Casca Reeves. We've got, I always forget the dude's name. The guy that was with Bo-Katan. Sabine, as far as we know, she's still alive. We don't know her current fate, but I don't think they would kill her off without acknowledging it. And if the theory that episode 5 of The Mandalorian takes place before Rebels epilogue, then she is definitely alive. So Sabine, Mando, Boba. And the Armorer. We know the Armorer was alive last time we were on Navarro. So 7. There's at least 7. So who knows? There could be hundreds just in hiding. Luke looks more like Han Solo from Solo movie and The Mandalorian. I personally don't see it. They just very distinctively look quite different to me. Leia trained her, right? Leia trained her for a year? For a year? It's not the equivalent of like what Luke did. I mean, Luke trained with Yoda for however long. Then there was a year between that and Empire in which he continued to train on his own. So we saw him in Return of the Jedi barely beat Vader and still get his ass kicked by the Emperor. 5 more years of that. We see Luke now ripping through people after a year, and it's just all raw power thanks to this dyad. That's all the movie tells us about the explanation of our powers, because even in The Last Jedi, he said, Snoke says to Kylo that the stronger the dark side gets, there will be somebody embodying the light to rise to meet that power. They always kept making excuses for why she's so powerful. In the first episode, or in episode 7, it was said that because she mind melded with Kylo, she learned through his own memories how to do the mind trick and certain other things. So then it kind of became instinctive. And then in Last Jedi, they're like, no. It's because he's so strong and she's like the only active light side person here. So she's got to rise. The Force is going to make her more powerful just to balance itself, which doesn't make sense because she's clearly not the only. Those two aren't the only Force users out there right now. They saw in the very same movie, we saw Broom Kid like using the Force. So we know there's Force sensitives other than those two. So why is this happening? Rise of Skywalker explains that by making it this dyad things, which never existed before, and that there are a convergence in the Force, a bonding of entities, and that is where their power comes from. Why those two are more powerful? Ben is from the lineage of the Chosen One. No one in the history of Star Wars definitively could ever match Anakin's potential with the Force. Can't happen. That's why Luke has a better shot, and he still struggles. We saw, if anybody, nobody is going to be more powerful than the Skywalker lineage without a reason. You just can't, because it's like in Neo in the Matrix. Trinity can never be as strong as Neo because Neo is the one. And I know people don't like the Chosen One storylines, but Anakin in canon is the balance of the Force. He was birthed by the Force. We know no one born naturally can ever match his potential. So they have to create reasons to elevate characters to match that lineage. Ben is unnaturally strong with the Force compared to other Jedi. That's even in his own comic, which I've read. He finds it hard to relate to the other students around him because he's just so much more powerful than all of them. And that's because he has Skywalker blood. And that's one of the few times in Star Wars where blood matters, is anyone tied to Anakin, because Anakin is a product of the Force itself trying to fix the world. And that it's just propping up. It just doesn't make sense. Even Luke, who has Skywalker blood, took 5 years to get to the point that we're looking at. 5 years of consistent training, one with his own master, and then training on his own, exploring, researching on his own. 5 years 6 years. 6 years of training just to get to where we see him in this show. Which still, if we compare feat to feat, this Luke in this show is still weaker than what we saw Kylo and Rey performing. Whether or not he's more skilled, they had more raw power and pulled off things that Luke shouldn't be able to do at this point. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's another thing that just hampered the sequel trilogy to me. I wanted Rey to be a Skywalker. That's what would have made sense. Like a by blood Skywalker. Like if she, like Luke isolated himself on Ox 2 because maybe Ben turned and by destroying the temple also killed Mara Jade, and he assumed that because she died. This was my theory before Last Jedi came out. Mara Jade died when the temple went out, but she was able to save her child, and Luke just never learned of it. Kind of like with Vader, kind of the reverse. Instead of Luke being the one hidden away, his child was hidden away, and then he was able to unknowingly train her up. But we got this dyad thing. I don't know. It's just when you give these excuses, and maybe it's just the lore of Star Wars itself and how it's evolved, but it has these built-in rules. And the sequel trilogy ignores a lot of the rules. Anakin was indeed Space Jesus. That is correct. Anyway, I need to get back onto your all stuff here. Heading out for the night. All right, saw that one. Hope we get more lightsaber content like Luke stuff, not like sequel trilogy lightsaber battles. I didn't mind them. I mean, they were untrained for the most part. I thought the fight in Rise of Skywalker was actually pretty good. But yeah, they were both like not trained well. So I forgive it not being as eloquent as we've seen with Luke, or definitely not in the prequels where they actually had formalized training from inception to graduation at the temple. I mean, you're talking about, and people talk about the prequels being over choreographed. Listen, these are masters of their craft. If you watch a martial artist fight, it looks choreographed, but that is skill. They know where you're going to throw. They know exactly how to put it in, how to strike, how to attack, how to go. And then if you take that same philosophy and take it over to Jedi who have formal training, can see into the future in some aspects by having the spidey sense, the Force, with predictive movements, it's going to look that way. That's just how it looks. It's the evolution of it. Luke had to learn how to fight all on his own, and then from his Jedi specters that he made friends with. Because there's this this Secrets of the Jedi book that came out that I bought as well, trying to make as much sense of everything as I could going into Rise of Skywalker. Talks about how he learned from Obi-Wan's ghost. He learned from Anakin's ghost. He's learned some things from these various fallen masters who were able to become one with the Force. We're getting into a tangent. Let's leave it at that. They did Boyega dirty. Yes, they did. When they called out publicly that he was calling out Kathleen Kennedy and requesting a private meeting with Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy, doesn't look good, man. They did him dirty. I wish they would have. They didn't need to just have one Jedi. And again, comes down to the Force. If he was Force sensitive enough to be trained as a Jedi for his future, how does that not tip the scales from what Snoke said? Again, just another plot hole. I would have loved for him to either have made character or at least done more with that from the get-go. What do you think we'll see in Mando Season 3? I think we're going to see Bo-Katan, Mando, and the others build towards a way of reclaiming Mandalore itself. Bo-Katan is clonist. Yes, she is. She is. She is originally from Death Watch, so she's always kind of been a little, prejudiced in a lot of ways that her sister wasn't. So I'm not surprised, especially knowing that the clones themselves were a big part of why they lost Mandalore to the Empire. They helped them take it back from Maul, and just in that same swift motion, captured it for the Empire. So she's got a reason to hate clones and to hate that voice. So I think that adds to her disdain for Boba. Instead of following this particular characters, we could follow a brand new set of characters. But honestly, I don't know. Just a thought. It'd be insane. And would it be the most riskiest big balls move that Disney would ever make? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do feel like if we do continue anything past the era of the sequel trilogy, we're going to have to just have new characters. And then there's a rumor that Rogue Squadron is going to take place after Rise of Skywalker. That's not confirmed, but that's a rumor. That's when that movie's going to take place, which would be interesting to see the perspective of that galaxy from that point of view, from just pilots and not people ingrained in all this Force stuff. Be kind of curious to see what the shape of the galaxy is after the fall of the First Order and the Sith Empire and all that. Do you think they'll introduce Ezra and Sabine? 100%. And I think it's pretty much a guarantee that Raul, I forget his last name, he's very active on Twitter. He's an actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Supergirl a couple times. He's been kind of very active and vocal about some stuff. I think he'd make a perfect older Ezra. So I think we'll get that. Do you think Grogu will eventually die? I mean, everybody eventually dies, but I don't think he'll die in the show, and I don't think he'll die at Luke's temple. I think he's become such a cash cow and fan favorite. I don't think they could kill him off because that's a huge marketing thing, and Disney's all about selling them toys. So I don't think we won't see Grogu's death, and if it happens, it'll be in a book or a comic. It won't be in a movie or anything. That's my thought, at least. Though I was really legitimately worried when one of the most tense scenes in the middle of Luke assaulting all of these Dark Troopers in this episode was when Gideon was like, well, shit, I'm out of moves. There's a Jedi coming. You could see on his face, he's just shitting himself. And he's like, maybe I can at least fuck with these people. Pulls out the gun, shoots at Bo-Katan, and that moment where he just lines up that blaster at Grogu, I was like, no. There was a split second where I thought he might actually do it and succeed. But Din dove in front of it, and everything was okay. Giancarlo Esposito, even though he's been really typecast since Breaking Bad, by pretty much only being cast as villains, he's so good at playing a really psychologically together, smart, manipulative, and convincing villain. He's so good at it. His dialogue in the jail cell even made me kind of disarmed for a moment. I was like, oh, maybe he's actually going to let Din take Grogu. Because he's just so good. They actually dropped my guard for a second. I was like, oh, of course. And when he started swinging the dark saber at him, I was like, oh, of course. Now, what was I thinking? Of course he's going to do it. Turn on him and be a little bitch. I'm sure there's tons of Mandos all over the galaxy. I think so. I don't think there's I don't think you can have an army of Mandos, but there's definitely enough to have a substantial force. Now, the sequel's left a bad taste in everyone's mouths. Do you think they will find Thrawn in season 3? Season 3 or 4. I don't know if it'll be 3 or not. I don't know if we'll do. Again, it comes down to if the reclamation of Mandalore and the Thrawn plot are going to kind of connect themselves, or if Thrawn will just be isolated Ahsoka's combined or left for season 4. Those reasons sound so bad. I don't like how Rey labeled herself as a Skywalker. It was just so unnecessary. I did think it was kind of cringy. I knew it was coming, but I also get it in a way. And I saw this from the perspective of some people who grew up not liking their own family, whether it be through abuse or various other things, other reasons, who later changed their names or their family names later in life, who really appreciated that sentiment. While we think it's cringy, it did mean something to a lot of people, and it's whatever. I thought it was funny that she buried Leia's lightsaber on Tatooine, Luke's lightsaber on Tatooine. One, Leia has never been on Tatooine before in her life, as far as we know. It has no sentimental connection to her. Luke always wanted to leave Tatooine. His father hated Tatooine. While it's an iconic moment and place that we think of as fans for the Skywalkers, when you think about it just a little bit longer, there's a lot of sour memories for them there too. Anakin was Space Jesus. I already called that out. I wanted to write a fan comic about Rey and her upbringing. I thought if she was a Sith, but her mind was erased, and that's how she grew into the Force so quick. I thought that was cool, and I thought it was cool when they teased the Dark Rey thing. If she ended up being the villain, I would have liked that. I thought that would have been fun. Like if we had like a role reversal where Kylo came back from the light, back to the light, and she, like a sleeper agent almost, falls to the dark side. I thought that would have been an interesting way to kind of turn that dynamic around. Sucks that there's no more Skywalkers. It really does. That entire line is gone. Sad. If only they were like the Avatar and could be reborn, since they are the lineage of the Chosen One. My original theory was that before we got the dyad thing, before anything else, was that maybe Kylo and Rey were related somehow. Again, coming back to her being Luke's, and that maybe because, maybe somehow because they were from the lineage of the Chosen One, they both somehow became together the Chosen Ones. Like she was the light and he was the dark, and together they were going to bring balance by their conflict. Nope, still better than what we got. How many Mandalorian cults are there, or groups of them? Don't know. Still don't know. The Children of the Watch are separate from Death Watch. We know that Din was rescued by Death Watch because we saw that in a flashback. And then they somehow at some point became the Children of the Watch. And then there's just other unnamed sectors. Like there's the Night Owls that Bo-Katan leads. Those are the only ones I know of. And then you just have them broken down by clans, which is just family names. Clan Wren, Saxon. Was it Saxon his first name or his last name? I don't remember. The prequel fights were the best. I love them. I like them. Over choreographed or not, I don't care. I love flashy combat. I'm that simple. I'm sorry. Off topic, when Anakin died and he came back as a Force ghost and he was with Obi and Hyde and Luke was with them, how did he know that was his father? He could probably just feel it, you know, the Force, because just like he felt when he was like, even when Leia, which is still a weird thing to think about, it's like somehow I've always known. When he was like, "You're my sister." I know. Somehow I've always known. Yet you still tried to make out with him multiple times. What? But yeah, he probably just knew. It was a feeling. It was a, and there were semblances to his face without the helmet, if you just kind of give him hair, take away some of the scars, you could like assume. That's my explanation. I think he just felt it through the Force and knew and recognized the face healed of the face that he saw beneath the mask before he passed. When Luke arrived and started destroying those dark troopers, if this was at a movie theater, people would have cheered. Dude, that's why I'm so scared for movie theaters, because there's such a communal experience, especially for fan moments like that, man. Some of my favorite that I recall have been Yoda in Attack of the Clones. When he whips out the lightsaber, dude, that theater roared. Then anything in Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, man, was some of the hypest moments I've heard of theaters, and it is such an experience, and I'm worried about that going away. Obviously, we do need to be safe and protect other people and ourselves during this whole situation, but there's nothing like that. Sharing that passion, that experience, that excitement with tens of other people, strangers you don't know, all coming together for something you all celebrate and love is fantastic, and there's no feeling other than that. You know, it makes me miss some of the days back when they had midnight showings. They don't really do that anymore because now you have pre-shows the day before the official release. So you don't have that same communal experience with these people coming day one, pre-ordering to see it at midnight. I know some places still do it, but in a lot of places you can just see it at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever, the day before the actual release of it. And it's not really the same, but it still gets crazy. Dude, one of my favorite memories is just being at opening night at midnight. I know I went into school the next day tired as all hell because me and all my friends went to episode 3 at midnight and watched it, and it was fucking great. Oh, I cried. So good. Find my place again. No, right. Watched it alone. Would have been great if I was watching lots of people. The end of the Book of Boba is him going back to desolate Camino to do one last cloning. Like what? Give himself a son? Give himself his own little Boba? Continue the tradition? That would be interesting. You think the Book of Boba Fett will be a season that will be added to The Mandalorian as an add-on for fans to enjoy while waiting for the next season, waiting for every next episode for season 3? Maybe. It is going to be limited and an event series, so it's likely it could be kind of there to fill in that gap for a little bit or build into it. The Grogu's species is mainly telepathic, and speech is undeveloped unless they are exposed to other species that talk and not capable of telepathy. That would be interesting. Because that's the first time we kind of saw that too, where Ahsoka was kind of communing with him through the Force alone. And I thought that was really interesting. So maybe, could be. Maybe that's why Yoda's speech is all fucked up, because his species was never meant to talk. Do you think Grogu species? Do you think Grogu could show up in a later movie? It's possible. Would you buy a toy of Holdo? I would buy a toy of Holdo, just a Holdo maneuver out the door. And I love Laura Dern. I love her. I mean, Jurassic Park is my favorite movie. In a lot of ways, I think it's the perfect movie. You can't see it at this angle, but I've got the Jurassic Park poster over there. I fucking love it. She's a fantastic actress. KN, thank you for stopping in. Take care and take it easy. Talk again in the comments. I love her. That character, the writing didn't really support her choices. She wasn't a character we were familiar with, even though she was in the Leia book. So unless you read that book, you don't understand her relationship with Leia. the entire conflict could have been solved by just talking. If she had just explained her reasoning, the plan, there wouldn't have been a mutiny. And you can't really say Poe was all wrong because there was a shit ton of people that sided with him because they didn't know what her plan was. But they played it on, big man no want boom boom. He just wants to go bloom bloom bomb bomb bang bang explode stuff. I won't tell him anything. It's fucking dumb. There's a lot of forced conflict in The Last Jedi. There's a lot of things that could have easily been avoided by certain things. And that's one of them. Taika's movie ends up bringing Grogu trilogy. I honestly think he's going to be doing, his movie's going to be set way in the past. I think we're going to see a different era, a different time, a different period in Star Wars we've ever seen, and we're going to see some shit. We're going to see some stuff. I had a feeling he would have shot the glass so that they could all get sucked into space. Well, like, like a alien style, that would have been fun. There's been a lot of alien references this season. Oh, look at the cute little feline. Her name's Pop-Tart. Chad Worthington. Are we sure Mando and Grogu will see each other? Vader took his mask off to see his own eyes because he will never see again. Yeah, I've seen that parallel drawn between those two scenes. You can also parallel that scene to when Anakin said goodbye to his own mother. The next time he saw him was when he died. Grogu could return, but just to see Din die. And that could kind of tie back into the theory that I mentioned earlier, where maybe Grogu survives the burning of the temple because he senses Din's in danger and leaves to go help, but doesn't get there in time. Much like Anakin. She knew them for like 3 seconds, so she didn't have a right to do that, to be honest. She knew them for 3 seconds. Kimona, let me know what that was in reference to. I'm just curious. I don't know how to respond to that because I don't remember what was happening when you typed that comment, what I was talking about. I want to get a Luke Skywalker series that shows some of his more extreme force powers. That would be badass and cool. What were your thoughts on Rey and Kylo getting tighter before he died? Getting together before he died? I thought it was weird. There was always a tension between the two. I could have done without the kiss. I didn't feel like it was romantic. I don't feel like they ever had a whole lot of a draw together like that in that way. I did think that she knew that there was good in him and wanted to save him. I like their dynamic. I love their push and pull. But I think them kissing and just straight hooking up at the end was a little weird. But then again, I kind of looked at it like, you know, sometimes in a movie, you see this as a trope in a lot of things, in movies, TV shows and stuff like that. When there's like an adrenaline fueled situation, you both just died. One of you did die and came back. Whether you're romantically involved or platonically involved, that's like a genuine reaction to being grateful about something in some ways. So I was like, oh, they're like, holy shit, you're alive. Blah! Maybe that's what it was, but it was clearly intended to be romantic. So I don't know. It's weird. I like their dynamic. I like their characters. I just wish they did more with them. No wonder Rey changed her name. How many of you commenters would want to be tied to the name Palpatine? Yeah, I wouldn't want that name. I wouldn't want to be like, hey, I'm Rey Palpatine. Nobody wants to be, hi, I'm Jeff Hitler. You know, Space Hitler? Don't want to do that. Do you think the book, I was referencing to her burying the lightsabers and taking the last name of Luke and Leia. Yep. Okay, cool. I agree with you. I agree with that a little bit. Though she lit, I would have bought, because she spent what? Let's be generous. 3 days with Luke. She spent a full year with Leia. She's definitely had a more maternal and emotional connection to Leia than she did with Luke. I think Luke because of his legend, meant a lot to her, but her actual bond was with Leia. Like, so Rey Organa? I think that would have made sense. It just doesn't have that pop that Skywalker has, you know? But I thought that would have made sense. Do you think the book effect will add on seasons or it's a separate thing? I think it's going to be a separate thing again, which was my original thought. And I think some stuff we've learned here recently is going to be the same thing. Lord of the Rings in theaters was really cool. Yeah, I saw it in theaters when it came out. Honestly, at least my theater, it was just dead quiet the entire time. It was a little weird. I watched it by myself though. I was my grandparents dragged me along with all my cousins and stuff to the movies, and I was like, I am not watching whatever they are. So I went into Lord of the Rings by myself, which is funny because they went to see a kids movie with all my younger cousins and stuff like that, and their movie was over an hour and a half before mine, so everybody's just like waiting on me. Oh my god, it was so funny. Love Lord of the Rings. Grogu's Laura Dern is Bae. I agree, and I am so excited for her to be in this, in the Jurassic World Dominion. I'm so excited for that. When they announced that they're bringing pretty much everybody from the original movie back, I am on board for that. All right, let's try to wrap up here soon. It's getting kind of late, and we've been going for almost 3 hours, and my throat honestly is starting to hurt. Grogu's the same species as Yoda, and he can talk. No, I definitely think he can talk. I think what they were saying was like their species is born telepathic, and that's how their species talk within themselves. But because Yoda and certain members of that species, because of their Force affinity, have become members of the Jedi Order, they have to learn to talk verbally, which is an interesting theory. We don't know that it's true or whatever or anything like that, but I thought that was an interesting observation. But that's kind of what they meant there. She said something. She could have said something and saved like 40 minutes of the movie. Yep. Because what Poe did was set Finn and Rose on their journey, which because they found the wrong code, which is another thing. They called him a code breaker. Welcome to the brighter side. The term has always been in Star Wars slicers. I swear, why they said Wayfinder and not Holocron, why they said slicer, or why they said code breaker and not slicer, will confound me to the end of my days. But not only does her doing that to Poe cause Poe to send them on their mission ends up being, again, the reason they are outed and their ships are revealed is because they trusted, I'm blanking on the actor's name and the character's name, the slimy slicer guy. Because they put any faith in that rando that they found, that in turn screwed up their entire mission, Laura Dern's plan, everybody's plan. She caused her own headache. Pretty much the entire movie would be just Rey training. If she told Poe the plan, they would have been fine. They would have evacuated their ships. They would have been on crate. Everybody would be alive. You wouldn't have a movie. The movie they'd be safe. And Rey would just be training with Luke and not have to be called back because there's danger. The movie would not exist whatsoever if Holo had a conversation with Poe. Whole movie hinges on just the fact that she withheld that information. Just finished a podcast. What do you think of Luke Skywalker in the season finale? I thought he looked fake. I talked about that. I actually responded to your comment about that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he did. I mean, he was fake. He was CGI. His face was modeled from the same team that brought Tarkin and Leia back to one back to life and Leia back to her old age in Rogue One. They did not get very far with that technology. And it could be budgetary reasons or it could be just time. But yeah, it doesn't look god awful. It's not the worst that I've seen. It's not Tron Legacy by any means. Now, if you want some really shitty de-aging technique or CGI body doubles, check that out. I love that movie. I love Tron. I love that universe, and I'm glad we're getting a Tron 3. But yeah, a little fake, but serviceable. It was too badass for me to even care about it, to be honest. Do you think there would ever be a movie or series where Vader does Jedi hunting? I think we'll see some of that in Obi. I think we'll see a little bit in Obi-Wan. But completely devoted to it, I don't think we'll see anything like that. Disney likes having our hero characters, but the fact that we're getting the Acolyte might seem like they're opening up on that. Are you excited for the Cassian Andor show? I am. And even though I know where his character is going, it's mostly just because I like Diego Luna and thought he was such an endearing person, and his character not so much was interesting. If K2SO's in it, I'd love it. I mean, there's got to be a reason for that show to exist. You know, there's got to be a goal or something to the Star Wars lore, mythos, or history that necessitates the fact that show needs to exist. So I'm excited for it because I think that every show they've announced has something to offer to Star Wars, and that's what I want, and that's what I'm hoping for. But either way, I'm excited to see Diego Luna back. Watching his Wired Google interview thing was so fun. I liked it. Just, I don't know, that it's always fun to see like a cast and crew that and actors that are just chill and down to earth like that. Do you think there? I want Grogu's first word to be daddy. Daddy? Imagine it. Mando. What if he comes back and he's like, his voice is like so deep. Mando. Father, I have returned. Are you excited for Cassian Andor, Grogu, and Pop-Tart fight? No. Grogu would probably try to eat my cat. Okay, I hear all the shows will be done by 2025 or 2026. And I think they should do a time skip, like maybe 40 years down the road. That way they can bring Mark Hamill What? 40 years down the road, Luke Skywalker's dead in the timeline. He's only got 25 years before he dies from where the Mandalorian is right now. Rey seemed super asexual. Yeah. Rey Organa. I actually like Rey Organa. I think Leia herself as a character is such an empowering figure. I think that name carries something. More so to the galaxy as a whole than the Skywalker name, because the Skywalker name is really only important to the people that know the history and what happened, and that's really a select few. A lot of people don't know about all that stuff, man. It's kind of crazy. Just to pick your brain, they introduced Cal to live action. What color lightsaber do you think they will give him? Blue? I'm willing to bet blue. Isn't his canon saber color blue? Because now in Star Wars, it's not based on what crystal you put in. It's based on your personality. So when you first build your lightsaber, and we know that the broken one was his, right? I'm pretty sure, if I remember right. I'm actually planning on replaying Fallen Order again. I just reinstalled it yesterday. I love that game so much, and I would love to see him in live action. And I would like to think of it as blue, but I could settle for green as well. Great stream, Mike. You're killing it. Good luck with more success on the channel. Aw, thank you, Gargamon. The whole Rose Finn trip to the oh, what was it? Oh, why? I can't think of the name. Damn it, I had it just for a second. Yeah, the city was kind of dumb in my opinion. Yeah, because especially since they go on that. Another thing about that scene, that section that was a little weird was they've only got so many hours before their friends are all dead. And they joke around and free those space horses And they're like, even if we don't find the slicer, at least it was worth it for this. No, if you didn't find that slicer, all of your friends are dead. How is this an equal exchange? Oh my god. And then the random kiss. Weird. Yeah, I 100% shipped Finn with either Rey, or I swear to God, I shipped him with Poe. Their dynamic was better than their actual chemistry. Rey's like Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver's chemistry was super strong. Maybe that's why they leaned into that dynamic more. But man, nobody could beat Oscar Isaac and John Boyega's chemistry, man. I would not have been mad if they made that a thing. Misa back, at least for a little bit. Oh, you need to go to bed. Broken Saber was Jaro's. Was it? Ah, okay. And then he builds his own. And then you can make it whatever you want it to be. So I guess I'm curious. What is his canon personal lightsaber? In the flashbacks, I thought his was still blue because he still had one in his flashbacks, didn't he? I don't remember. Again, I'm going to have to replay that game. Diego Luna's so amazing. Grogu's training shouldn't take long because he already had many years of training. Yeah, it's all going to be supplementary, going to help him stretch his force wings, so to speak, since he hasn't been flexing it so much, having suppressed and been disconnected from the force for so many years. Yeah, I think it should come back for him. Sleep is for the weak. Also, I'm on winter break. Well, then fair enough. Who cares? I don't sleep on days I work, which is not good, but yeah. I can agree with that sentiment. His mating, I love that Wire interview too. He's so calm and cool. He's also just so dorky in a way. Diego Luna. He was just really happy to be there and being involved. It was so endearing. I like when I love when like an actor, like no matter how famous they get or really appreciates their position, you know? When they get kind of lost into it, I get a little bit less interested, you know? The lost in the stardom and all of that. Imagine if they discovered a wormhole or Stargate in the Star Wars universe and it led to Earth. I mean, if you're an Indiana Jones fan or an E.T. fan, they clearly know where Earth is. Because, well, E.T.'s species is part of the Galactic Republic. We've seen them in the prequels. And in, I don't know if it's all of them, but in most of the Indiana Jones films, I don't know if it's in Raiders or not. I can't remember. But I know for a fact that in the Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade, and even in the one we don't like, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, there's all Star Wars references. There's the Obi-Wan diner. There is the, you can see C-3PO, the Millennium Falcon, and R2-D2 and various hieroglyphics in certain areas. These things are connected, so they might even know where Earth, and even if they don't now, we know it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Maybe eventually they do find Earth. What if we're the descendants of those explorers? Think about it. I mean, if they want to use the world between worlds to create an alternate reality that will branch off and the events from the sequels won't happen in this new Filoniverse. It's a possibility. It wouldn't be time travel, but it could be an alternate reality separate from that line. That way, the sequels are still canon for those that like them, and for the people that don't, they get their own timeline. It's a win-win, right? Do you think that Hayden will be brought back as flashbacks or actual Vader? And well, they said he will be back as Darth Vader. They didn't say Anakin Skywalker. And we know that in Revenge of the Sith, he was in the suit itself. So I think he'll be in the suit, or at very least, we might have some flashbacks, because they did say we'd have some flashbacks to Order 66. But I also think we might see some scenes of him without his helmet, and then it could just be him with the prosthetics, like, again, at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So they can fit him in there. he will, but I do think he'll at least be actually in the suit. Because he didn't look bad in the suit. I think he looked fine. There's been a lot of speculation about the Boba Fett book. There are those who say it'll be the third season of The Mandalorian. I hope it's not like that. I love the Mandalorian series for what it is, the story of Din Djarin. Yeah, so there's evidence now from Deadline and also an artist that works on both the shows stating that they have Deadline is 100% reporting that it is a separate series. An artist from The Mandalorian has said that on the schedules, they have two separate schedules. And if they were the same season, he said that you wouldn't see that. So he doesn't officially speak on behalf of Lucasfilm, who haven't confirmed anything. But he is at least saying that they're two separate things. Originally, it was confirmed that there was a Boba Fett event series coming out. So I think it's going to be a separate thing. Even though the whole chapter book thing and them like moving away makes sense. We've seen that in other shows and properties. I think it's unlikely at this point. It could go either way, but I'm not going to say it's one thing or the other until there's official confirmation. It could be season 3. It could just be a supplementary event leading into season 3. Cat box from my bab. Sleeps for the week. I already read that one. The whole Rose crashing Finn fighter was, she did it first. She loved it because she loved him. She's known him for so little, and he was ready to save everyone. But oh no, Rose had to save her crush. See, it seemed like a forced way to get Finn to be in a relationship not with Rey. And then that opens up some other questions that we won't get into. Some controversial questions. But yeah, it just seemed really forced. I know she confronted him and was like, "You're the hero, Finn." You know, like she was looking up to him because she's heard his stories from the couple of days that he's even been part of the rebels or the resistance. Because remember, Last Jedi is only a few days from when Finn first joins the resistance, since Force Awakens and The Last Jedi occur back to back. There is no time skip between those movies. His exploits apparently make him a hero, and then she was like, "All right, I've known you for literally only a few hours. I love you. Love you." Seemed like a forced way to not have his character end up with Rey, personally. Though I love Kelly Marie Tran. No problem about that. I know a lot of people were upset with her, and what happened to her was fucking terrible, and I would never condone any fucking shit like that. So, like, with what happened to Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best and Kelly Marie Tran is some of it's the dark side of the fandom, and it's unbearably awful. I can't believe people attack them. They're not in charge of these decisions. The people playing these characters are not responsible for these decisions. If you're going to, voice your opinion, voice it at those who are making the decisions. Ridiculous. Ugh. That's a whole other rant. Diego Luna's accent is so mesmerizing, soothing as hell. I agree. I love hearing him talk. If there's one thing Disney did great with, it was casting. The sequel, Rogue One, solo actors, all had great chemistry and worked well. I agree. I love the cast. I love everybody they got. I think everybody did really good with the material they were given. It's just the material they had wasn't that great, in my opinion. It just sucks. Because a lot of them too, like Daisy Ridley, because of everything that happened with those films, is struggling to get work. Oscar Isaacs was great in getting all kinds of shit before Star Wars, so Star Wars didn't really hurt his ability to get work. Daisy was mostly an unknown. I'm pretty sure, she at least stateside, she was an unknown before Star Wars, and she's not really getting work now at all. Like, she's talked about how normally after big things like this, big breaks like that, the work just comes in, and it's just not coming in. And John Boyega obviously has rocked some boats with Lucasfilm and Disney for the way they treated him and treated his character. It's sad. I love Diego since I'm Mexican, so I really feel represented. Besides, Diego is well loved here in Mexico, and we are very proud. He's such a cool personality, and that's another thing that I've heard too. And I think that's one of the things that he really appreciates about his position too. But he's so likable, and I love that we're getting that taste from people all over the world too, adding into this. You know, it's, I don't know. There's like a powerful thing about Diego Luna's story and his presence in that, and just that role. I really liked Rogue One. It's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite of the new Disney era films. I've always wondered during Star Wars timeline, what was the Earth timeline? That's a good question. So the reason too that it's as we learned in like the making of Star Wars and some other stuff, that the reason in the original script for A New Hope, the reason it starts with long time ago in a galaxy far, far away is was because the story is being told because there was this, the original title was what? The Journal of the Wills, and it was the Wills that were narrating the story. The Wills were the ones who were presenting the crawl and presenting a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. They were the ones telling the story of Star Wars, so it could literally be at any point in time, which is interesting. And we were going to explore that in Lucas's script, and they didn't want to use that script, and we would have been a little more tied together. Totally sucks that in an attempt to appease Chinese audiences, Disney completely shafted Finn. It really does. And that's probably one of the reasons too that they didn't expand on that friendship. And then the other representation, like they did with Avengers Endgame, in the celebratory scene at the end of Rise of Skywalker, you have those two, that couple kiss, the female couple kiss, and that's just something you can be like, all right, well, the version of this going to China, we're just gonna suck that right out. Now they'll take it. It's so shady and shifty. Like, stand behind your ethics, man. Stand behind it. I know you want that Chinese money, but come on. Everybody, let's not lie. Everybody wants the Chinese money. It's such, their population is so huge. Like, all your money comes out of there if you can land it. I've been listening to the music from Luke's scenes on repeat all day. It was some really good stuff. And you're right. What I was talking about the fandom lashing out and being awful was also why George left. You know, he's not allowed because he signed a contract. So he can't defame Disney. He can't defame the sequel trilogy. He can't defame anything they're talking about. It's not an NDA. He just can't say publicly anything negative about them. Even though we know, insiders know, friends of his know, he doesn't like them. So in part, it was largely due to, look, he knew that even though whatever he was going to make with his scripts, there was a huge chance that the fans weren't going to like it. Because he wanted to explore more of the midichlorians, the wills, the origins of the Force, and all of that stuff. And he was like, listen, probably, even if it got made, fans probably wouldn't like it. Because he was so in that impression. Now we're like, God damn it, bring George back. So in the impression that the fans have just turned on him. And he given that, in an interview recently, he was talking about how one of the reasons he stepped away was like he was getting old. When he makes Star Wars, he gets too attached. He gets too hands-on. Even if when he's delegated it to other people, he still tries to micromanage everything because it's his baby. And he's like, I'm getting too old. I need to spend time with my family. Everybody hates what I work on anyway and what I've done with Star Wars anyway because of the prequels. It was a combination of factors, and now he regrets it. That famous interview where he calls Disney a very unpleasant thing is definitely evidence of that. Do you think Indiana Jones and Star Wars exist in the same universe? 100%. 100% they do. I honestly felt the character Kylo Ren could have been handled so much better. He seemed like a badass, but became more of a brat at the hands of Rian Johnson. I don't know if I say brat. I felt like he was definitely trying to stand on his own 2 feet in that movie. And I think what was happening with Kylo in that was interesting. I think they were trying to set him up as the main villain. And as a original trilogy fan, making this legacy of the Skywalkers end up being some envoy of the dark side and having some envoy of the dark side represent the Skywalker lineage as the villain. I don't like that. I don't like that whatsoever. So I don't like that direction. He also was too incompetent in a lot of ways because he was a flawed, fractured character. He was meant for a redemption arc. Just the way he's designed was meant for a redemption arc. But it didn't seem like they wanted to build to that. So weird. There's too much push and pull. You've been alive for so long, you can't properly talk anymore. It really hurts. I am trying. Daisy Ridley made millions with the sequel trilogy, so they don't really need to work. The average person does not make $3 million in their lifetime. So you're not wrong, but actors want to act. Artists want to make art. It's not really about the money, you know? It's when you're a performer, you want to perform. She's not getting opportunities to perform. Yeah, the money's great. She got her little movie that just came out now that was filmed like, what, 2 years ago? That movie she's got with Tom Holland? That movie was filmed 2 years ago. She got that job between Star Wars films. Since Rise of Skywalker, according to her, she has received no offers for work. Sure, she could take her millions, hold on to it, be responsible with it, and retire. But as an artist, that's not what you want. Star Wars can take place whenever the viewer wants it to be. For Star Wars, for me, it takes a far, far future. That's the only way it can make sense. I mean, think about aliens to us. You know, even if you believe in them or not, a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? Accepted ideas that if they're visiting us, they're advanced enough to have this technology that completely blows whatever we have out of the water, which should imply that they've been around way longer than we have. So who knows? It could be way in the past. It doesn't mean we could be just a baby planet, just getting our feet together in the galaxy, while other planets have been around way longer, billions of years longer than ours, and have more advanced technology. It could be in the future, could be happening right now. Grogu could have just left with Luke Skywalker right now. We don't know. Would you say The Force Awakens is the best out of the 3 movies with Rey and Kylo? Yes. I think The Force Awakens is the best of the sequel trilogy because it opens the door for all of these possibilities, and the only things the other 2 did was completely drop all of those possibilities on the ground and not do anything with them. I think that was the best because, like I said, going back to it, I was so excited for where Star Wars was going to go after The Force Awakens. I don't care if it was like a poetic rehash of A New Hope. I don't care. They played it safe, sure, but it was still cool and there was a lot of promising ideas. But because they didn't have a plan, they didn't have a roadmap, there's no follow through. Rian Johnson decided not to take a lot of JJ's setups, decided to not go with a lot of the setups, storylines that he wanted. And I was like, no, that's cool. That's cool. Some of that stuff, sure, maybe. All this stuff, I'm just going to dump right over here and do my own thing. That's not how a trilogy works. When you go into a movie, if you went into this saying, we're going to make one movie, and then later you decide we're going to make another movie. We'll make a sequel to that one. It did pretty good. We'll make another one. They went into this saying this was a new Star Wars trilogy and did not plan where it was going to go. Day one of shooting, even while shooting Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine was not even something that was in stone yet. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, the cast and crew, Ian McDiarmid himself. I don't think Ian McDiarmid said anything. Daisy Ridley at least said the Palpatine thing, Palpatine's involvement in the script, was something that was still being written as they were shooting the movie. That's not how you plan a film, let alone what is supposed to be a 3-movie structured trilogy. At least when Lucas was behind the camera, even if he might not know exactly where things are going, he's actively got a roadmap in his own head. It's one man, one vision. Even in the OT, he had people to check him, like checks and balances for some of his decisions with producers, with other people. He wasn't completely in control of it, like with the prequels, where he was 100% in control of it, no one around to tell him no about certain things. He still knew where it was going. He had an idea. He was building it as it went. In this, you had what was intended to be 3 separate directors, each telling their own separate style and approach to a story that they were going to pass the baton like this is a marathon race. And then you have somebody who wants to subvert expectations to the point where they took all the setups from the previous film and decided not to use any of them or follow up on any of them, and then try to tie it back into it. It's like you have 2 first movies competing with each other. Meh. Ugh. So, in consistency's sake, I think Force Awakens is the better of the 3. Last Jedi, I will give it, is the most beautiful and most gorgeously cinematic Star Wars film we ever got. Like, you could make a million wallpapers out of that. Beautiful movie. Cinematography, gorgeous. Some amazing iconography in it. Everything else just didn't nail it for me. What's the unpleasant thing that George Lucas called Disney? I don't know if I want to say it. I would just look it up. Rogue One is overall a good story. Some of the characters I couldn't connect to. An overall theme of war, sacrifice was executed well, and the ending Vader scene was gold. Agreed. Passed. After Force Awakens movies kind of went down, in my opinion. They were cool though, and they didn't wow me like the other Star Wars movies. Agreed. He is telling a story that happens in his past, but his past is his future from our timeline. Exactly. What my brother says is that in The Last Jedi it was a whole move on its own, and that the director left nothing to the Rise of Skywalker movie to continue on. So the third movie was kind of half-assed. Yeah, I mean, the end of Last Jedi didn't leave enough room for you to follow that up. Like, if they had 2 more films, you might have been able to build a story out of The Last Jedi. But in 1 film, bring everything to a close. You just killed your main villain and just introduced this baby Pokemon villain who in the first game was stage 1. He turned on his master and evolved into a stage 3. What was he going to... How do you develop him into a bigger threat than that, a bigger bad than that, when we've known him to be unstable, unhinged, and not really... and struggling and conflicting with his own wants and needs and personality? I don't know. I don't know how they would do it. And I know the Colin Trevorrow script had Kylo Ren as the main villain in that one. And I was like, even though there was some cool ideas in that script that I liked better than where it went, overall, I would rather take The Rise of Skywalker than Colin Trevorrow's script. Because they didn't leave much to work with. Yep. Do you like how Kylo died? I feel like he could have had a way better death, to be honest. He could have been such a badass character and had a badass death. I thought it would have been great to have him redeemed and Rey just die, stay dead. For him to do the thing Anakin always wanted to do just because he... Oh, well, she did this heal thing. She brought me back. Maybe dyad powers, so he automatically knew how to do it? And he brings her back? I don't know. There's just something just weird about that whole exchange. I would have rather them both have been alive. Or whatever. I don't know. But, guys, I am going to call it here. My throat hurts. I need to start getting ready for bed. I do have work in the morning and more moving to do because we're still not done yet. But thank you guys so much. This has been an awesome stream. We've been talking nonstop for 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours. And it's been great. Love you all so much. Again, I'll catch you all next time, next video, whatever it's going to be, because there's not really anything series-wise in the pipeline until WandaVision comes out, and Cobra Kai, we'll be covering both of those. I'm not sure exactly when the next Star Wars thing's going to be, but I can't wait for it. So, as always, may the Force be with you, always. Take care, everybody. You'll have a good night, good day, good afternoon.